Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to the new week 1. It's Sunday, my dudes. That means it's time for some League of Legends action. Game 1 of the day. There we are. Sorry, 1 second. Alright, cool. Good news is I've actually got audio now. Sorry about that. We had a slight error, but now we're all good and going. So, first up of the day is actually going to be Kent taking on London. Our champions from last year's NUEL championships. So that's all well and good, and we've got them going on up against London. My name is Hitbrain, and joining me on the cast desk today is Sin. Sin, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you. Just excited to get back into the season. Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like we have audio on the stream right now. Have the stream sound open. So.
Oh, really? That was weird.
Yeah.
I could hear it on mine, so... Uh-oh.
Yeah, I've got the stream on maximum volume, and I'm not hearing anything, so I assume that means that it's an issue with the stream and not an issue with my feed.
That was really weird. Hold on 1 second. Okay, they can hear. Cool.
Hey, there we go.
Hey, sorry about that. Cool, we're a little unsure because we're just having a couple of hiccups on the way, but you know, everything's looking all good and dandy, which is nice to get going. So obviously, let's have a little chat about the teams, the lineups here. Obviously, Kent,
we've got the champions, 50 Kent. Yeah, they went to Game 5 up against the team UAE Monkey Cage, who we'll see later on tonight, and they managed to take the win overall. Really, last season in the NUEL was about really star junglers coming through, and Scudzy was definitely that for the side of Kent. And on the other side, we had Lolman07, who again we're going to see later on. But with the meta changing, we're going to see if these teams with strong junglers are going to fall off a bit, or if it is going to be more around strong solo laners, strong top laners, for example, when we're seeing things like Vladimir and Gangplank carrying in the current meta.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see actually how that kind of faces, how we see these teams play out, because obviously Scudzy's one of the most, in this game anyway, one of the most experienced players. So it'll be really interesting to see actually how he kind of shows up today. Going to be really, really interesting. And obviously, like we said, later on in the day, it's Monkey Cage. Like you said, it's a Swiss cheese, so we don't actually know who they're playing against quite yet. But we've got quite a lot coming up today, and it's going to be really good to start the week out with, you know, the teams who, you know, all of our biggest teams, all of the best teams, all the best teams. Seems a little mean to say it that way, but you know, these guys are the strongest teams from last year. It'd be interesting to see exactly how, as we've started in a fresh new year, how they are actually going to fare up against each other. And we should be ready to get into picks and bans relatively soon, and then we can get underway with the first game of the day. I'm just making sure everything is running smooth and dandy for everyone watching this at home. And we'll be kicking it off into picks and bans nice and fast. What are you expecting to see in picks and bans today?
Well, we've seen a lot of nerfs in the jungle recently to things like Jarvan and Sejuani, so I'm expecting to see a little bit more depth in the jungle role than we've seen in some of the competitive play. Generally, when you see things in the competitive play like Azir mid lane, it requires a fairly high level of play to pick up those sort of champions. So maybe we're not going to see as much of the Azir. I do expect to see, however, some Galio, potentially some Ryze coming through in the mid lane, as just generally things like Zoe as well that are fairly common in solo queue.
Well, here we are straight into the first game of the day, and Nivea is the first ban coming out from the side of London.
It's a fairly strong mid control pick. We did see it picked recently in competitive play, so I'm excited to see some more interesting picks come out in the mid lane. We've seen some Veigar competitively as well, which is another interesting pocket pick out from a lot of people.
Yeah, and I do expect to see quite a lot of these kind of pocket picks come through as well. You know, a lot of these teams, you know, they're not professional players, they're all university students, so they want to get their hands on, you know, their favourite champions, the people they will perform best on. So if we can actually get some of these pocket picks come through, players will feel a little bit more comfortable, and then they should be able to kind of really pop off, and that's what you want, especially on week 1. You want to be comfortable, you want to be feeling like you're in the zone, you know, you're in familiar territory. You don't want to be forced onto maybe something meta that you're not particularly familiar with. Because also one of the things about this tournament is it's all over the place. Not all over the place. Sorry, the player base is all over the shot. Really, you know, you've got teams in Platinum, you've got teams in Diamond and Master and stuff like that. So there's quite a lot of widespread variety. So comfort
still
is
fairly early in the season as well. So you can
exactly.
look at people who are in Platinum. Last season they may have been Master, High Diamond. You don't really know. It hasn't really shaken out fully yet. But we've talked a lot about UKC here and how they are our reigning champions, but we've got to look at the other side quickly, and it is ICawin from Imperial, which is in London, as you said earlier, and they're coming up against, in the first round of the Swiss, the reigning champions, and that's not going to be really good for your morale when you come out up against the team that is currently considered the best, one of the favourites, to then take it again, as the roster hasn't changed at all.
Well, it could be a massive morale boost if they beat them. Obviously, we kind of brushed past picks and bans there, as we were just having a look at everything, but Varus will be the first pickup for ICawin, so London get their hands on arguably one of the strongest ADCs in the game at the moment.
But interestingly, being able to pick up Braum immediately on the other side, having an attack speed based AD carry like Varus, who likes to play with the on-hit build, then just countering that instantly by going with a Braum, who can defend so effectively, it's going to be very useful, and they can potentially set up a pick-based lane onto this with the really lack of mobility from the Varus, so you can expect to see something like the Ezreal come out fairly shortly, I can imagine, from ICawin.
What do we expect to see in the top lane and stuff like that? Obviously, Tristana's going to get picked up, so going straight in for the hyper carry. They maybe could have saved that if you ask me, but going to actually pick that up now, make sure they get their hands on that. Orianna going into the mid lane, and Rengar for Roland. Actually,
an interesting ball delivery system. Like straight away, ball delivery system for Orianna. The Rengar can jump in on top of somebody with the ball on top of him, instantly ulting onto the backline. With that crit auto attack as well, you can destroy somebody, and that's going to be really interesting to see if they can set up picks effectively with that. But it requires a lot of execution. You've got to be able to set up Rengar coming in from a flank with a ball already on top of him.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you get those ball placements really good. Talia going to go in the mid lane, trying to shove that Orianna under. It's been a while since we've seen Talia, especially in competitive play. A lot of the Korean players have been kind of hyping it up still, saying it's very good. And obviously the roam potential with that ultimate, once you hit 6, is fantastic. What do we expect to see coming in? We still got the top lane, we still got the jungle to get picked up, the jungle to get picked up for 50 Kent. They need to get themselves a hands on a top laner.
You can imagine that they want to keep counterpick for Grego here. Really, in the jungle, there's a lot of safe picks you can go for. And Scudzy, we know he's a very prevalent jungler anyway, so they can afford to pick him something. Because there's not really many counterpicks available in the jungle right now, and it's not really an aggressive jungle meta. The only thing we really see that could be considered an aggressive jungler is the Kazakhs. And I know in China, they've been playing a lot of Lee Sin, but I don't really expect to see that anywhere else. So I'm expecting them to lock in something just fairly standard for Scudzy here and save that last pick for Grego, but they could also trust in the fact that they've got Scudzy, this really strong jungler, to completely out-jungle Roland and put him on something that he thinks he can carry on, maybe even something along the lines of the Nidalee.
They're going to ban away the Rek'Sai and the Kayn, giving over the Ornn to 50 Kent, with the fact that they've already got the Braum, that kind of major Ornn counter. Is sitting on their team as well, so they've got really solid team fight put together already for the side of 50 Kent.
With 4 jungle bans, leaving another one to be taken away. That's going to be 5 jungle takeaways here with the Rengar included. So Scudzy is going to have to go on something much lower priority. We could still see him go for something like the Nunu and feel fairly safe going for something that he's got the scaling with the hyper carry. But at the same time, it's really interesting that he's just allowed them to put so much pressure onto him, and we do expect something with some teamfight pressure, though that's really what the composition's about. You've got the late game Tristana, we've got the Braum and the Ornn as well for this late game knock-up Fiesta, and they've got the AoE damage from the Talia, so they need something to be able to facilitate the Talia to put down her AoE damage.
Really. Okay, that's an Orianna support, an Aurelion Soul in the mid lane, unless that's an Aurelion Soul support, so ICawin already pulling out a curveball here. Sejuani going over to 50 Kent, but let's have a little talk about this Orianna and this Aurelion Soul.
I've got a message here. So I've got a message. Aurelion is Lulu. So it's a Lulu Varus bot lane. Again, just buying even more heavily into that attack speed based on hit build or the Varus.
There we go. Okay, I maybe got a little carried away going, oh wow, Orianna support. I've heard
it's
about
something
it.
I wish worked because it sounds so fun.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it doesn't do a lot obviously because of the damage. you need damage on Orianna to actually be effective. Has an alright laning phase, but then it kind of just falls off. And there are better poke laners anyway who can kind of shield their ADC, i.e. Karma. So just gonna quickly let you see the new picks and bans. Obviously ignore every ban you're seeing right now. They are just...
It's just the screaming bans right now, just full A's across the board. Not interestingly going to try and spell anything out.
I'm glad. I hear horror stories about times where they try to spell stuff out.
It was interesting when it was just 3 bands and you used to have like CLG, TSM as the bands.
Well, at least one band stays the same. That will be the Anivia. Kent making sure that's definitely not going over.
And unfortunately now it seems like they are in the wrong order. Or either that they've changed around the order here for ICawin.
No, they're already in the wrong order, unfortunately.
Right, so now they're even more in the wrong order.
Yep, lots of balancing for us to do, but that's fine. Gives us stuff to do. Let's have a little talk about the Shen pickup here.
Yeah.
Shen into Ornn. How does this fare?
So Shen, because of the way he trades, where he wants to dash through somebody with his taunt and then pull out the Q for the auto attack trading, it works really well into being able to dodge out the final hit of the Brittle from the Ornn W. And now they've removed the Unstoppable from his W. It makes it even more interesting because you can cancel out his W entirely by landing that taunt. The other thing with Shen is even if you do get that Brittle on you, you can pop your W, and then he can't get that extra bonus auto attack that's going to knock you back and do the bonus health damage. So delaying it by a few seconds and making sure you get the extra damage and you get the better trade out of it can be so useful for Shen. And he's going to be ulting away to be able to make plays across the map with this Rangar looking to dive onto the backline. So it's definitely a very interesting composition they've built for themselves, and it's very much based around having this Rangar go in with the Shen on him, with the Orianna Ball, to buy space for Varus to put down that auto attack damage and get to the maximum stacks on his Gwynsu's Rage Blade.
My concern, though, really comes through to the disengage that Kent have drafted here. They've got the Ornn, they've got the Sejuani, they've got the Braum. Like you said, Braum's shield will stop a lot of these kind of auto attacks that Varus will be putting out, and then you've got the Call of the Forge God. You've got so many tools to displace and move Rengar around and lock him up and blow him up before Shen can get in on top of him. Especially as we move later, remember Tristana's attack speed only grows with her levels. With her, the longer the game goes, Tristana gets more and more threatening and harder for them to kind of get on, especially if everyone's standing on top and making sure that Tristana stays up. So it's going to be really interesting to actually see how this goes down. I am very concerned about the late game for Rengar. Early game, though, it's going to be fantastic, especially if we see lots of aggressive counter jungling into Scudzy, maybe when you hit 6, an instant roam on the Taliyah, who very good at roaming, but actually runs very limited mobility. And when a stealthing kitty cat pounces on you with knives, it's not a lot you can do if you're a rock lady.
It just seems like there's so much banking on this Rangar getting ahead in the early game. And when you've got the Bone Tooth Necklace passive on top of the snowballing mechanics of lethality, it gives Rangar that much more strength if he starts to get that early lead. So it's all going to be around that level 6, how his first ultimate goes. If he gets a kill off of it, then that can really spell a big turn in strength for the side of Imperial, and how they can turn that one kill into making plays across the map, playing around this Rangar. And you can just see every single pick besides the Varus. You can have the Lulu, where he jumps in onto somebody and then instantly Lulu ults him, knocking up everybody around him, ensuring that he gets maximum time on a target. There's so much to enable him. And it's just a case of if he gets that lead in the early game.
It's definitely going to be all about enabling the Rengar, giving time over for Varus and Lulu, who is going to be really about a lot of protection. He's got lots of peel in that lane, so he should be fine. I want to see Rengar really put his attention on mid and put Taliyah down, because obviously this is one of the things you see a lot of people do when they play into these very roam-centric laners, is attack the person who can roam. Go for it. If it's a TF, make sure you pin him down so he can't ult into another lane and
go to the source of
yellow
the global,
card someone. There's so many things you can do with it, but generally you like to attack the global. You like to attack the person who can roam and then make the plays. So if you can constantly have Orianna shoving Taliyah under, or if Taliyah shoves up, then obviously there's always the threat that Rengar could come hopping out of a bush and blow you open. So be very excited to see what we get from that. It's going to be a bit of a wet noodle fight in the top lane. Ornn obviously did have a couple of nerfs or couple patches back now. I'm interested to see why there was...
as well.
Yeah, I'm very confused actually on why we didn't see a Nunu come through, especially with the Varus. You know, kind of buff the hypercarry. It was open as well, didn't get banned. Is there a reason for that? Is there something I'm missing? Has there been?
I feel like it's just trying to challenge the Sejuani here from Scudzy. It's going, we have banned this many junglers because they banned 4 junglers, picked away 1. They're trying to put out a challenge where Rangar is going to be trying to 1v1 the opposing jungler. It's playing this aggressive jungle style where they want to snowball off of the early game, because this is considered a mismatch again in teams. So rather than going, okay, we're going to try and late game team fight them and out team fight the team that's considered just better than us in most roles, no, they're going, okay, we've got to get an early game advantage and snowball that advantage through playmaking. And that's what the Rangar represents here. But on the other side, you can talk about plays being made by Kent as well. We've got the Sejuani, the Ornn, and we said going to the source of the Roma. That really shuts down the Taliyah. But what does it matter when you've got Sejuani and Ornn both roaming mid?
Yeah, or you could use keep the Roma in one place and just roam to the Roma. That's
exactly.
That's always an option.
Because she's going to have fairly good lane control once she gets a few levels. So the Ornn can just walk mid, pop his ultimate, and then you pressure out Orianna so effectively that you either take a big chunk from the tower, or you end up finding a kill.
We've got 13 seconds on the top clock, and then we can see what keystones everyone will be running. Remember, Unsealed Spellbook did get a couple of nerfs on this patch. It now gives you 10% less cooldown reduction on those summoner spells. So a couple of people are starting to favour it a little less, but I still think it's a relatively decent keystone. You do still get that reduction, is one of the major things. But there's
still really useful on supports, yeah. We've seen in competitive play, one of my favourite uses is you just get an Ornn with Unsealed Spellbook in the support role. He teleports to wherever a play is being made, lands his ultimate, and then it doesn't matter what else he did in the fight. As long as his ultimate landed, that's the successful play made for the Ornn.
Oh, here we go. I can have a look at some. So it's Airy for Orianna. No Unsealed Spellbooks this game. Fleet Footwork Sejuani, we've seen that a little bit in recent weeks as well. But yeah, nothing really, no Unsealed Spellbooks, so we won't see any of those summoners getting switched around and then like a 4-man TP play somewhere. It's relatively calm.
So we can see that the Sejuani has gone for the Fleet Footwork here in the jungle, and it may seem odd to see her go for a precision rune, but with Sejuani prior to the rune changes, you used to run attack speed to be able to proc that permafrost a little bit easier. So you get that extra 1 auto attack, and it's the break point where you get the 1 extra auto attack than you would have had otherwise. And it does help with your clear in the jungle because you get that little bit extra health back. You get a little bit extra attack speed onto camps as well, so you're going to be killing them a little bit easier. And overall, it just makes her have that much more early game pressure.
Oh, here we go. We've loaded through onto Summoner's Rift. First game of the day. Kent will be taking on London, the champions. Kent looking to try and start off strong as we head into a new season. Just having a little look at the state of everything. Everyone's just starting off relatively defensively so far, just to kick things off.
So I like this minion dematerializer here from Hot Cross Bun in the mid lane for Taliyah. You can use it for multiple ways. You can use it to try and hard push the wave level 1, level 2, it's more towards the cannon wave that you want to be using it. But if you can just hold it for the cannon minion, every single time that comes along, you're going to get 3, 4, 5 seconds of wave priority, where you get to roam, push them in, get a ward down in the jungle if you need, go and try and make a play across the map, and you know the opponent can't respond.
Everyone just starting off with their buffs. Red buff for Rengar to kick it off. Nothing unexpected, and interested. I've always liked this Fleet Footwork, as we actually do see the flash get burned on Varus straight off the back. Albion forced out of lane, well, forced to pop that defensively. Over the walls, Braum did pick him off.
Instant reaction on it though. It's the full Xayah Rakan setup where they just sit in the brush, level 1, try and make a play. But with a Braum available, that does seem like a fair play. Braum, one of the best level 1 champions in the game, with the pressure of those concussive blows coming through.
Roland just having a little bit of a trade in mid, having a bit of a hard time. Already down in CS to his counterpart. Hot Cross Bun. Roland running a little bit low, that Airy poking him down.
He's already got this wave priority, and it's only going to get exacerbated with this cannon wave arriving very shortly, so he can use the first minion dematerializer directly onto the cannon, and then try and push the wave out and make sure he gets the full priority, or he can save it for the points where he knows he needs to be able to make a roam, around that level 6 mark where you just push the wave in as hard as possible and leave before the Orianna can do anything about it.
Just having a look at the CS at the moment. There's a slight lead for Kent's bot lane at the moment. Just pushing the Varus in a little bit with that pressure. Obviously they are playing safe, knowing that the flash has already been burnt. Health bar's running a little bit low. As we do kind of hit the 3-minute mark, both of the teams starting very, very slow. No one really wants to go for too much. Remember, it's not that Relic Shield bot lane anymore as well, thank God.
I actually really like this from Ornn here. He started with just the refillable potion, and then went to lane, got a couple CS, then crafted the Doran Shield. So now he has the refillable instead of having to pick up normal potions at level 1 and then potentially waste gold in the future, and he still gets that Doran Shield.
So He's actually in this bot lane. Has been spotted on top of a ward, so going to be hard to make a play for Scudzy there.
It's just going to back off here, but having that pressure on the flashless lane means they have to play that far back. And Rangar hovering around the side, though.
Yeah, Knife Cat's here. He might actually try and make a play himself if he wants to. Will be hard as he's only level 4, so he doesn't have that ult. Needs to rely on bushes to actually get on top of people at the moment. And again, Hot Cross Bun just constantly trading and forcing T Roland in and making sure that Roland can't respond to anything that happens on the map at the moment. Rengar's gone off for the base, so bot lane will just pretty much get a full reset now. And that flash is already about half the way gone, so it should be back up for any kind of potential play around the time Scudzy hits level 6.
Yeah, it's really hard to make a play into the shielding bot lane that is Lulu, as you said before. Just a lot of safety available in that bot lane. When you've got the fleet footwork on top of it to keep yourself healthy through trades as well, it's just becomes all the more exacerbated where it's really going to be an issue for Kaiwai and Settleland force anything without Scudzy being there.
Oh, this top lane here, Grego versus Your Cookie. Your Cookie is got a pretty big discrepancy on CS so far. He has obviously just had a big wave crash into him, so he should close that out a little bit, but Grego definitely asserting the pressure at the moment. He can push and back off and make sure he gets himself some vision down and then continue to do the same and deny it as much as possible versus his counterpart. Scudzy staying even as well to the Rengar. We haven't had any aggressive invades from Rengar, but we are seeing at the moment Scudzy is looking to head into there. They found him out though, got the bush, he's going to go for the hop. There is a blast cone which will get him out, but he gets rooted up. Ooh. Doesn't decide to go over that wall and chase him for anything though.
Yeah, he didn't want to really flash, but if he warded over the wall, he could have used that brush there to be able to jump over. You could see he thought about it just a split second too late and wasn't able to follow up on the play, but just a little bit of vision put in by Scudzy, not really giving up anything for it other than a chunk of his health bar. And he didn't have anything in his own jungle to really play for other than his Krugs, which are notoriously hard to take at this point in the game, so he's just happy to keep his eyes on the Rangar, you know?
Ooh, Kid Cat gets bot back. Takes a little bit of damage, not too much at the moment though. I love this new Summoner's Rift, by the way.
Yeah, with the giant statues in top bot lane. Yeah,
gorgeous. I really, really like that.
It does look pretty good, and I know I've been grinding some of the quests. So I want me one of those skins.
Yeah, I finished mine for the border for Lux today.
And the only issue is you actually have to win games to get the quests. What's that about?
Oh no, it's unfair.
I know about me. 0-10 in the placements. That's what you got to do.
Really?
You go in other people's placements when they ask you to play with them, and then just play things like AP Rakan mid lane.
That's called trolling, my friend, and it's not particularly...
Hey, it's a legitimate strategy, and I attempted to win all the games I played. It doesn't matter that I lost some of them.
You weren't inting, you were just trolling. There's a difference. Well, if we do have a little look at the state of the game as we hit the 6-minute mark here. Well, 7-minute mark now. I can count, I promise. Again, Grego still got a massive CS lead, and it is just only growing against Your Cookie only. Again, in mid lane, a lot of trading back and forth, but Hot Cross Bon is the one who is actually taking the better half of it so far, as Robot Lady doesn't really like having pebbles thrown at her so far. Roland is staying relatively equal in CS, and bot lane, again, it's a small lead, but it's not anything massive at the moment. It's all about this bot lane. Sorry, this top lane, where the CS lead is growing wider and wider by the minute. Grego getting so much pressure on his counterpart. And obviously with the fact that he's got his passive allowing him to build items in the lane, he can stay there for a long time. He's got himself that catalyst as well, so any trades he takes will give him a bit of mana back. Nice and easy for him.
It's definitely one of the best things about Ornn, just the fact that you don't have to use that TP so often, you don't have to go back to base. And it allows you to get in this position that he is in now, where he's got a catalyst up on his opponent, and there's nothing really Shen can do. He has to just sit back and know that he's going to lose the lane if he goes for any of his trades that he actually wants to. So he's going to fall further and further down, be consistently pushed into his tower, and it's one of the reasons that Ornn's so strong is he has all this ranged wave clear. Even when he's in a negative matchup, he can be pushed into his tower and still farm so effectively, so when he's in a matchup that's even, it just becomes so oppressive to the Shen, where you can just force him under his tower over and over again, using the Bellows Breath.
Yeah, he's using it very effectively there in lane, just trying a bit of a trade against Cookie. Goes forward with a smash, doesn't actually quite connect it, so not going to get any knock up right now. As we see the taunt come through from your Cookie, gets himself down the Spirit's Refuge. And now we got Kitty Cat coming in looking for 4, but on the other side, the ultimate does connect. And Scudzy has found the first blood for his team. That's going to be golden, but I don't think Lulu can live for too much longer. Flash out, but the knockback does come through, and first blood gets picked up by Kawhi. And in the top lane, Grego even manages to answer back. Helvian now trying to trade out as Knife Cat is taking on Grego, but the great searing charge from Grego will get him in a bit more damage. He's got himself the knock up, he's forced the flash, and now we have Ornn chasing down Neko for one more auto attack. He is so low, 33 health, manages to get his way out of that fight somehow.
So Ornn was nerfed, right? And he still pulls off a 1v2 versus Shen and Rangar at level 6 in the top lane. That's pretty strong.
He did have to use that ulti,
yeah. But the thing is, so did Shen, and he was still, and so did Rangar. There's still 2 ultimates for 1, and they got the flash out of Rangar as well on that. Yokiki only actually held his flash the entire time. I'm not sure if they just went too aggressive and went out of the tower. Unfortunately, don't really have the ability to watch a replay for that. But in the bot lane, very cleanly executed, where the stopwatch was used effectively from Ricky, stayed alive for a few extra seconds, popped the ult, and he would have survived if it not for Hot Cross Bun landing that wall, stopping him from escaping, and then holding the tower aggro for as long as possible before popping his own stopwatch. And now, going to be able to assert his dominance on the mid lane, having picked up parts of the Morella Nomicon on top of those boots.
Champs are 2 kills up. They've got themselves a 1,000 gold lead as well to kick the day off. And it's only 10 minutes. Now, Ricky needs to be careful as Hot Cross Bun's looking for him. Knockup doesn't actually quite connect, but Scudzy's over the wall. The damage is there as a shield comes out from Roland. Shockwave comes down onto Scudzy and Hot Cross, but now here comes the rest of them as Braum manages to almost clip him with the Q. Doesn't quite connect the Winter's Bite. And Ricky will be able to walk out of that one. Almost killed, but he was unscathed in the end.
Well, they got both summoners out of T-Roland there and didn't really have to give up all that much for it. It's just a chunk on the health bar of the Talia. So they're going to be happy to have that summoner down. And we talked about earlier, without the cleanse being taken from T-Roland, which is generally considered disrespectful not to take cleanse versus a Sejuani, that has to be target in her mind right now.
Oh no, that's one more. Scudzy comes in. Kawhi gets himself his 2nd kill of the game, and he's off to a fantastic start here. 11 minutes in. It's a 2,000 gold lead. Scudzy has been everywhere on the map so far.
He's not fallen behind to Rangar in CS whatsoever. He's kept up, and he's also still making these plays across the map. And that's going to be likely the first tower here in the bot lane. And we'll see if they donate the full gold over to Kaiwai or not.
Are they going to give it over, or is Scudzy going to be a little greedy here? And we do see actually a taunt come down. It looks like actually they shared that gold between the 3 of them at least, so not going to be giving over that gold, but he's already...
It's not like you have a late game hyper carry or anything. Don't worry about sharing the gold. But it could have got to the point where the wave was getting low and they just wanted to make sure they got it. So it's not really an issue, but it's still getting that big chunk of gold into the pockets of University of Kent here. And picking up the static shiv on top of that BF, so there's a nice amount of burst here for Kaiwai, where he's going to be able to hold the lane, he's going to be able to wave clear even more effectively against the Varus. Until Varus picks up something like a Runan's Hurricane, which we can expect to be his 2nd item, it's going to be a long time before he can really contest the waves.
Neko, we really wanted to see him play aggressive, go for the invades, try and shut Scudzy down early. Didn't do that, and here comes the ulti from Hot Cross Bun, followed up by the searing charge to pull him up into the wall. Great interaction there. He does go golden for a little bit of time, but Kawhi is here. Spirit's Refuge will deny a couple of autos, but the buster shot comes down from Kawhi, and he picks up his 3rd kill in the game.
After getting that bot lane tower, they called the lane swap much earlier than the side of Imperial. They say, okay, now we're just going to go top lane, we're going to dive the enemy top laner and just continue sieging. But, good play here by Imperial to try and trade for the mid lane.
It looks like actually they're going to be able to defend that mid lane nice and simple. Hot Cross Bun's actually hanging around, maybe looking to try and get himself a bot back. Can't quite connect it, can't find it.
It was the right idea to try and make a play to be able to trade objectives. They go mid lane instead of going top lane. They go there far too late on the reset, so they end up being punished and lose the top lane tower, but they at least get the TP out from Ornn, and they don't lose another tower, as they got very close to losing the mid lane one there as well.
Yeah, very, very close. Actually, I think the damage is about even right now on both of those mid lane turrets, so...
Yeah, ends up being just the teleport that's lost for it.
And that's what you use the teleport for, defending, keeping it up. And actually now Kent are going to turn their eyes towards the Rift Herald. It's only 13 minutes in, and this gold lead is growing massive. Getting objective after objective. It is only a Cloud Drake, hence why they're probably putting a little bit more preference on the Rift Herald over that at the moment. But Grego does need to be careful. The rest of his team has just shown themselves. Ulti goes a little bit wide. Chains of Corruption not going to connect. And Helvian can't find himself the pickers. He's doing a fair amount of damage at the moment. Hasn't got that Rage Blade yet, though. Oh, Knife Cat's here! Looking for it. He's managed to find it. The hop, skip, jump comes down. He's looking for the damage as he goes in, but the Grego charges out of town, out of danger, and he will be A-OK while KawI and Siltian will be able to take themselves the next objective, which will be the mid lane turret. It's super low at the moment. Remember, Scudsy's hanging around with a Rift Herald as he's just pulled off the base, and he'll probably look to pop that down in mid, probably for the tier 2, though.
You can see that right now it's Kent being a couple steps ahead on every play. They had the lane swap in the top lane quicker. They were able to get a big chunk of the mid lane tower, and now they have the Rift Herald as well. This mid lane tower is not long for this world, so at any point they can pop that and look to break open the tier 1. But it's just a small brisk of wind from being knocked down anyway. They can look to break open a tier 2 with this Rift Herald now, if they've just got to set it up effectively with the lane pressure, and we know they've been playing around these waves very effectively thus far as well. They've got the push from the Ornn. We know he wins 1v1 versus Shen, and the bot lane is going to defeat the enemy 2v2 also, so there's no lane of strength right here.
Fantastic ultimate comes down, full combo is there, and KawI picks up his 4th kill. Like you said, this should be the turret. They're summing up the Rift Herald preemptively for tier 2, pushing these waves in. Hot Crossbone and KawI have the damage to be able to clear these waves out nice and easy with a static Shiv. Obviously the pretty fed Talia. And here comes Rift Herald going up for the charge. Just going to be a good chunk of damage onto that tier 2. Should start them off nice and good for the day, as your cookie is also there, and you've pretty much got the full 4-man lineup. Helvin obviously dead for the side of London to try and defend, but they're really, really struggling to the tempo, to the pace that 50 Kent are playing at.
So it's a really clean display here thus far from University of Kent. Haven't shown any weaknesses across the map, even when it's Grego being 3-4-man camped. He's still getting out of it, and we saw him pull off that 1v2 as well. So it's just allowing the pressure to be put onto Grego. He's absorbing all that pressure, same as Scudsy did in the pick and ban phase. But he's netting his team an advantage across the map, because what it does is give Scudsy the time to be able to make a play on the other side of the map. They spot out where Neko is, and he's not able to make a play. He's not able to follow up onto the... he's not able to follow up onto a counter gank, for example, where you see Scudsy go in and try and make a play. Suddenly there's a Rangar on top of your ADC. Instead, it's just Grego's surviving a 1v2, and they get a kill on the other side of the map as well.
This is true Scudsy style as well. Super aggressive all game. He was
even on a pick like
everywhere.
Sejuani, yeah.
He was everywhere. He didn't even let the invades happen. Knifey Kitty Cat has found out Grego is actually, we could see a taunt come through. Searing Charge will knock up, and there's the taunt. Got a bush to work with as well.
Yes,
but we do see the ultimate, the Weaver's Walls coming down, and the Call of the Forge God's also there to back him up as he gets himself a knock up onto Only Corgi, who now has to work around that wall. It's going to get pinned up and killed down by the Winter's Bite. They might just give it over to KawI. That's a 5th kill onto the Tristana. And Hot Cross just throwing some pebbles forward, trying to find an opening. We haven't seen that wombo combo with the Kitty Cat and the Shockwave yet.
He holds the pressure for as long as possible again, and they still make plays off of it. But Ricky,
Ricky almost gets out, but now we see the full combo. Great wall comes out from Silo and keep his ADC alive. Ulti connects, and Kitty Cat gets locked up. Is going to get blown apart as KawI is trying to put out the damage, but Sicilian will find himself his first kill of the game. And a 7-0 at 17 minutes. 2 Kent to start the day out.
5-0 and 1 onto KawI as well, with that Infinity Edge on top of that static shift completed. It's become so easy to shred through these at the enemy team. Nice play by him, flashing over the Shockwave to ensure he could try and get that final auto attack as Ricky gets away on sub 100 HP. But it's just all in all been so clean from Kent. As we've said, they've not had any weaknesses across the map. They've not had any plays that we can really say they've made a mistake on. It's just been consistently outplaying the side of Imperial.
Yeah, it's really been a bit of a stomp. It's always quite hard to analyze games like this when you've just had a hyperactive jungler who's been able to put lots of pressure onto his lanes and get them rolling.
So
and
it is the first game of a Swiss
just
as
been
well.
winning.
And it's the first game of a Swiss, so we expect it to be a bit of a mismatch here at the start, and that's exactly what we've seen in the in-game scoreline here. Is 7-0, still currently perfect gaming it for the side of University of Kent. And so we can't really analyze it too much. We can't really say they look like an incredible, amazing team that's going to out-macro every team in the league. It's just one game as an example. So, got one question to hit brain is, are University of Kent going to win Worlds?
We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but yes, I could see them taking it. No problem.
I mean, who needs Faker when you have Hot Cross Bun here on this Talia?
I mean, he's put a good show up so far. Just having a little look at what we... Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with the rest of the team as they're all actually stacking up. Just hanging around, maybe looking for a play, but for now, it looks like they're actually just going to play a little bit more calm. Don't want to really give up their advantage yet.
Just slow, methodical. They don't really want to, as you say, give up one of those big plays where you get countered by a Rangar plus an Orianna Shockwave. Because there's definitely the ability to try and pick off multiple members if you land a Shockwave on a key target. See, it's just fair right now from University of Kent. They're not trying to brute force open an objective. They're just trying to choke out here at Imperial. And they've got Baron spawning very shortly as well. So all they need to do is push in the waves, make sure there's no vision in the jungle for the side of Imperial. So if they want to contest this Baron, they have to face check. And this is going over pretty much free.
And there's nothing they can do to contest this. Outside of Rengar maybe getting himself
Miracle Steal.
Flyby, but here comes the Miracle Steal, potentially. Shen getting delivered onto Kitty Cat. They go in, they look for the damage on Kawhi, who just hops back out of there, and Kawhi just blows him apart. That's going to be another one as Scudzy picks it up. It's 2-0, and now Grego trying to take on Helvian, who's going to get locked down by the Braum passive, and Hot Cross Bond manages to find himself his first kill. Roland now on the run, throws out a Shockwave, only connects onto Scudzy. The knockback comes through, and the damage is there, but Kawhi picks up his 7th kill of the game, and it's 20 minutes in, and we're looking towards potentially the end.
And this is exactly what they were saying about there was no vision. They had to face check. They had to do something to avoid just losing the game there and then. They try and go on to Kaiwai, but he gets the bull shrew, shooting down Rangar in midair as he's jumping towards his face, and that's going to be the inhibitor broken open not long before the game, we assume, and they can look to back off and pull the exact same play at Baron again, knowing there's no real way for the side of Imperial to contest it without losing multiple members. So they can just go to Baron, disengage, and make the play over and over again, because the death timers are so short to the point where they couldn't even take more than an inhibitor before they were all back up off of that ace.
Yeah, it's super, super hard for them to really do a lot here. Into the lineup of Kent, who just honestly played a really clean game. Now, obviously, like you said, it's a Swiss, so there'll be a bit of mismatches here and there. So as we move later on into the next couple of weeks, we'll see, Kent get challenged more by teams arguably at their level. It's how they can keep up this kind of hyper-aggressive playstyle. Are they going to be able to play like this against a team who will be able to challenge them a little bit more on the macro? That's where I'm going to really keep my eye on them to see what's going to happen, because Grego didn't have to teleport at all in this game, really. He kind of just sat in his lane and 1v2'd all game. Really showed up. And I'm going to be interested to see, as we move later on into the weeks of the NUEL, how Grego's going to be playing around these TPs. Is he going to make the plays into like the bot lane if a good fight comes out? Because obviously one of the things that a good top laner really can do is actually make sure they get those perfect teleports down. We could see Kitty Cat getting caught out. Scudzy goes forward. Ulti connects as we see Kawhi actually not quite get the damage to get the kill, but that's going to be the end of Neko. And like you said, free Baron for the taking here, as the inhibitor is dead, and this could be all she wrote, really. Our first game of the day. Bit of a hard stomp for 50 Kent, but they are the champions from last year, so not particularly unexpected.
You were saying about Grego and how he's been absorbing all this pressure, and if we're going to see him start to be more of a playmaker in later weeks, and the way he's been playing this game, as long as he can continue to absorb pressure in even or negative matchups in the top lane, then we can expect to see more of this style of play where they just allow him to be on this island in the top lane, either be going even or ahead, and then make plays on the other side of the map while he's being focused. And it's worked well for Scudsy this game. It's no reason why it shouldn't work against a team that is even more superior on macros, so you can start to look at maybe Grego dies on a dive, and then you just see Scudsy get a double kill bot lane instead. It's just being ahead on the plays, being ahead in tempo consistently is what Kent has done this game, and be interesting to see how much they can do that.
Helvin does get knocked up by the Glacial Fissure and just deleted. Finishing a rapid fire static shift will do that at 23 minutes to a pretty underfed Varus, unfortunately. He's only got that Rage Blade, and the rest of the team stacking up around that bot lane, looking to drop himself the turret with the Baron buff, while Grego split pushes in the top side. Look at the damage he does onto Cookie.
Yes, that percentage health damage still so large.
I thought he was actually committing for the fight. Kitty Cat's waiting around there. Goes in with the ultimate, but that was maybe a bit of a silly mistake there, as you see so much damage come down from Grego. Calls out the call of the Forge God and just headbutts the Ram in for the kill. Knockout comes down with the Syrian charge, and Grego trying to go 1v2 one more time. One more auto attack to secure the kill, and it does so. Grego with a fantastic outplay. He's not quite done. He's actually going to have to flash away from the ADC. He's looking to try and ruin that perfect ADA for Kent, but he's still alive. Kawhi gets Shockwave, gets the buff to shut down, but a fantastic Zhonya's will keep him up, and it gives him time to stack up the damage. And Kawhi finds a double kill. They're looking for one more onto Helvium. They still haven't lost a single member, and Helvium just gets dropped down one more time by Hot Cross Bun, who picks up the second kill. It's the full ace, and it's the full victory for 50 Kent at 25 minutes. Our game one of the day here at the NUEL week 1 is won by the last year's champion.
Almost a true perfect game there, as they were just about to get the top lane tower, but end up leaving that one up. Still 10 towers to 0, 18 kills to 0. They never looked like they were going to lose that game whatsoever. From even the early levels, they seem to get advantages in those solo lanes, and you can just see the mismatch in teams as Kent pick up this game and put up a dominating performance.
We had a little talk about some of the stuff, really. You know, obviously, like we said, it's a Swiss tournament, so there's going to be room for growth for all of these teams as well. We'll see ICawin, who unfortunately had an unfortunate matchup for their first game of the week. They're going to get placed later down the line against teams who are maybe closer to their kind of skill set, and then they can look to grow from there, look to improve from, you know, teams who maybe won't smash them in 25 minutes. Maybe they'll challenge them a little bit more, and we could see maybe London bounce back. But unfortunately, it was just a really hard matchup for them. And 50 Kent, they also need to make sure that they consistently pull out these kind of hyper-aggressive plays and pull off this hard stomp style, because their team was very, very well drafted as well. But I'm interested to see how they kind of fare against, you know, teams against like Monkey Cage, who were last year's runners-up. And, you know, they are our next game we're going to be casting here. So
yeah,
I'm going to keep my eye on Monkey Cage as well, see how they perform today, and then we can kind of draw some conclusions on maybe the higher bracket and where we think people are going to be sitting and how we think they're going to do this season.
We can talk about this game again. We can talk about the MVP points and like who do you think would be the MVP of the game? And I'll just take a quick glance at the damage stats, and it's kind of padded by those 1v2s, but it's actually Grego with the most damage here. Even 1,000 above the Tristana, who went 9-0 and 4. So that kind of shows you how much damage he was putting out in this game, and there's definitely, you can make a case for almost every single player on University of Kent here. Grego with the 1v2s consistently, Scudsy making the plays, Kawhi just turning up in every fight. So I'm going to give this one to Scudsy, though, for being always where he needed to be on the map and making those plays consistently.
208, pretty impressive score to start the day off. Obviously, Kawhi had a fantastic game in the Tristana as well, but that's game 1 wrapped up as Kent take themselves the first win of the season. Next game will be Monkey Cage, so we'll be kicking back after a quick break, so don't go anywhere, guys. We'll see you in a sec. Hello everybody and welcome back to the NUEL Week 1. We're straight into Game 2 where we have the super duper giant truck team from Exeter taking on UAE Monkey Cage. UAE Monkey Cage were the team who came second last split, so pretty excited to see how these guys face up against Exeter. And just to really throw us off personally, UAE are using the tag Exeter on their
Yeah, they're making clubs for every single game they play today. So they had a York name last game. So it's to tilt not only their opponents but to confuse us as well. I mean, their team name UAE Monkey Cage is a reference to the fact that casters ended up calling them by the wrong name initially anyway. So there's a bit of a history with us.
Promise I'm gonna get this wrong. I literally promise I'm gonna get this wrong. Hopefully we get into game fairly soon. I'll let the teams know that we're ready to get into picks and bans. What are you expecting to see? I mean, you spent a lot of last season really following these teams and you got to do the finals. So what do you expect to see, especially from UAE, you know, the second place team?
So last season we generally saw a lot of engaged supports like the Leona from the Cat. Still would be an interesting matter for him to go back into that, but there's still a lot of defensive, more surviving to the late game based bot lanes that he's going to be playing up against. It could be risky, but at the same time, the star player, much like most of the high level teams in the NUEL last season, was the jungler, and it was Lolman07, who at the time was challenger. Was really showing up every game, able to dominate in terms of not only pressure on the map but vision, and he really showed his prowess. But even in the finals up against Scudsy, Scudsy was just able to outplay him and have that little bit of extra competitive experience under his belt that helped him understand the matchups a bit better and have a larger impact on the game.
And like we saw in the last game, Scudsy was incredibly aggressive. So this time, maybe we'll see less aggression come through than jungle. Obviously, Scudsy's not playing in this particular game. What's the playstyle? What do you expect to see from these teams? Like, obviously, we did mention that, but like UAE, what is their general playstyle? Who do they really sink their resources into? For people who are new to these teams and new to the NUEL, what are we looking for from UAE?
Okay, so Karma Envy does end up playing a lot of really aggressive top laners. He's played things like the Yorick, the Alawi, the Darius, and there's picks that he consistently goes back to that he's able to really show up on in the top lane and dominate on fairly niche picks. Like at the time it was the Alawi, but we're seeing more of now, but at the time nobody really played Alawi. He played Yorick just shortly after the rework. And Darius is, of course, another fairly niche top laner, and we can expect to see him look towards picking those aggressive lane dominant champions, even against Watley, who's kind of renowned as a Tryndamere. Just seeing the band there, a Singed main in the top lane. We've seen him play Singed a lot in the past of the tournament, and I'm excited to see if we see it again. But I'm not really sure what to expect with these teams right now, because there's a lot of pocket picks on either side.
Yeah, we are actually going to start this off by seeing ourselves a fresh pick. Very aggressive support. Wants to be looking for the plays, and that is obviously on the side of super duper giant truck team from Exeter. And then for the side of UAE, they've got quite a few options open to them. The Varus is open. The Braum is open as well if they want to have the potential denial of a Ornn. But this is a champion that's being hovered right now. It's actually one that we've seen a rising growth in the last couple of weeks. Skarner, rush that Triforce, then finish your jungle item. Super aggressive and really impactful into the early and mid game with the stun you can put down with the Crystallize, with the Impale. And
So
I saw that hover.
Yeah, I saw that hover. But Lolman is going to be going for the Scar, as we've seen. Yeah, as you mentioned, with the Impale, very useful. But we do generally see him go for that Unsealed Spellbook. See, his Flash is so crucial that you need to be able to use the Flash for your ultimate, so getting that extra cooldown on it. Also, the ability to switch your summoners. So what you see people do is they switch the Flash when it's off, when the Flash is on cooldown to something else, and they switch their Smite back to Flash, so they can ensure that they have a Flash at all times when there's no objectives to contest.
Well, Singed is going to get picked up here.
It's an old Watley classic, so it's not really that surprising. But he's going to be comfortable on going back to this pocket pick for himself, and we'll have to see if Karma Envy has any sort of counters in mind.
No surprise on the Braum getting picked up as well here. Pretty standard. Going to be able to deny the hooks, the plays, potential stuff like that with the wall. And I could expect to see the side of UAE go for the ADC ban targets here. Just deny Exeter everything they can. That's going to be the Tristana first of all to get the ban phase off. Who else could we see them ban if they just want to solo target out the?
So considering all the nerfs that have come through, it was a mistake of me to mention Ezreal earlier. He's been nerfed considerably multiple times now with the Kleptomancy nerf. But other AD carries that are available with things like the Caitlyn that's been rising in priority recently. There's definitely a lot of AD carries still available in the pockets, and we've even seen some things coming back a little bit, like the Ashe we've seen occasionally in some regions. We've seen like a lot more niche AD carries than you'd expect, and we've even seen, I believe, Ziggs we saw the other day in a few collegiate leagues in America.
Well, Malzahar's going to get banned. That's something we kind of almost forgot about in the mid lane. That play kind of pick maker mid laner who can just constant shove. Going to get that off the board. Don't want to be dealing with it. Don't want to be first picking it. Orianna and Yorick are both going to get removed from the side of Exeter. And now expect to see the mid lane get picked up and look for the counter pick in top. Although Singe has already been picked, so that's ignore my... No, they'll look to counter pick mid now. Get their hands on a top laner.
It would be interesting to see if this Vladimir is picked up here, because it would just mean that it's likely to be going top lane. It would just be a scaling matchup where you go, okay, Singe, do you want to be running around the lane being annoying, but I can just happily wave clear and try and scale up as the game goes on. I don't really need to worry about chasing you around the map. So it's with Skarner as well available to be able to just go, okay, you're locked down, you're coming with me, giving Singe no ability to run away like he'd like. It's definitely an interesting setup for Singe to be played into, but I'm not really sure it will be successful.
I would like to see what they're going to do for the mid. They need someone who can actually get the wave clear down, because obviously the thing about Vladimir is he needs to stand in the wave to clear it. So there's very little wave clear at the moment. Bar obviously Varus getting that Hurricane later. If they actually go and lock in that Cassiopeia, which they've now turned off, they wouldn't really have solid wave clear for a siege. If they do go for the Xerath, on the other hand, which they have now locked in, makes a lot more sense to me. They have the ability to clear waves from a distance, nice and safe. So they've now got good wave. They got good pick potential. The team fighting, what do you kind of make of that for the side of UAE?
So there's a bit of an issue here, actually, because you've got to look at the composition here. It's a Protect the Cogmore comp coming out from Giant Truck team. So they've got the Morgana, who's going to be able to Black Shield the Cogmore so he can't be taken. If you want to gank her mid lane, she's got the Black Shield for herself. And of course, you've got the Ivern, who can be building like the Ardent Sensor. He can be making sure that Cogmore is going to have that extra attack speed in the late game, have the things like the Redemption to keep him extra safe, and you've still got Thresh available to make plays in the bot lane. So it means the laning phase is a little more difficult for the side of Giant Truck team. But the team fight phase, you've got a lot of safety to be able to shred through the front line of the side of Monkey Cage. But on the other, for Monkey Cage, you've got definitely a good setup for a siege, where you've got the large amount of wave clear from Vladimir and Xerath. You've got the long range poke of Xerath and Varus, and Braum to be able to disengage effectively as well.
And if we really look at the actual kind of state of the team comps, like you said, it's all about protecting that Cogmore, but there is zero damage. I mean, AP Morgana, yeah, it does do a fair chunk of damage, but it's not consistent damage. It's not going to be team fight damage. It's going to be pick damage. And if we get into a team fight and Cogmore finds himself getting blown up, when you've got a Skarner who can flash and pale and pull you into a Vladimir who can sustain in the middle of a team fight, it's going to be really, really hard for High on Anxiety to actually stay alive and pump that meaningful amounts of damage out. There's lots of ways for Varus to peel away from a fight with the fact he's got a Braum with his Chains of Corruption and a Skarner tanking up in front of him.
There's lots of ways to peel the Skarner, unfortunately, though, because you've got like the, as we mentioned, Morgana with the binding, the Root Caller from Ivern, the multiple shields and heals available for the team. It's going to be really hard for him to get onto Cogmore in the first place. And that's not even to mention things like the Flay from Thresh. So he has to find an interesting flank, an interesting flash over the wall to be able to get on top of Cogmore and make sure he catches him by surprise.
So both teams really have decent ways to keep their ADCs alive. You'd argue the Cogmore has had everything gifted to him he could want to hold this game. Let's talk about the Vladimir versus Singed for a moment. Singed obviously wants to sit in lane all game long, on your side of the lane as well, and basically just push. And it's going to be all about the split push for Watley. how does Vladimir counter this? How do they deal with this lane? Is Vlad just going to use his Q to sustain, make sure the waves don't touch his turret when there's proxy happening? Is he going to be effectively trading into him? How I don't really understand how the Vladimir will work into the Singe. So could you give me a kind of enlightenment on what they're looking to do with this?
So in the earlier levels, it's much more difficult for Watley to be able to proxy the waves. But so he's going to be trying to proxy around that sort of level 6 mark where he has the escape available. And by that point, Vladimir wants to be getting the Proto Belt. He wants to have the E already leveled up, and so he's going to be able to wave clear fairly effectively. He's going to be able to sustain up from the Crimson Rushes, so he can hold the wave even if Singed is choosing to proxy. And they have the Skarner as well to try and lock him down. So it's generally what you do when you have a Singed out of position so dramatically is you try and lock him down with the jungler. And with the Skarner available, it makes it even more strong for them to be able to do that. But it's really difficult because he starts having the ultimate to be able to escape. He starts popping things like Ghost, for example, and some Singed will do, or just be uncatchable, and then you end up wasting so much time, losing so many minions because he's proxied the wave and the minions are collapsing on your tower. He gets that gold advantage from that.
I wonder if he's going to run that Airy or Unsealed Spellbook as well as his keystone. Unsealed Spellbook means obviously he can switch that teleport out later for Ghost, or can do what he wants with it. I assume that Karma Envy on the Vladimir will also be running Unsealed Spellbook. It's got that Ignite in lane at the moment. Braum as well, so there's double Ignite on the side of UAE. It's definitely looking to play aggressively. We've obviously said that Exeter have really put a lot of their emphasis on this bot lane, on making sure that Cogmore stays alive, but you do have to keep in mind UAE are the team who came second last split. They were the runners-up to 50 Kent, so, you know, there's lots that we can kind of knock them down for, but history has...
Oh, Jesus Christ. So it's lethal tempo Cogmore that's going even more into the late game scaling. He's going to be breaking the attack speed cap and trying to make sure he can pump out as much damage as possible with those late game team fights, but it's getting to those later game team fights that is going to be the issue for them. We've got to see if it's going to be the proactive plays coming out from I Came to Party, Lolman, and the Cat, being able to get advantages early enough to the point where the Cogmore doesn't even become a factor because he doesn't get to that 2-3 item point where he's really threat to the enemy team.
Is it going to be the Ardent Morgana? Or what do you expect?
I do expect Morgana just to go for a more full AP route. They've got the Ardent Sensor coming out of the Ivern here, so he's going to be able to keep the Cogmore mostly safe. You need the Morgana to supplement the damage. You need to get things like the Zhonya's Hourglass and be able to flash onto the backline with the Zhonya's Hourglass active. Making sure she can pressure out as many people as possible from the fight, and that gives Cogmore the space to be able to put down the damage. And with the multiple routes that they definitely have the ability to be able to roam, make a play, and catch somebody out with multiple seconds of CC and locking them in place long enough to be able to get advantages come that mid game as well. But it's a lot more conditional, and there's not enough damage to follow up with it. So on the other side, though, we could talk about really the Varus plus the Braum in the bot lane and what they're going to be looking to do. And that's really going to be a pick-based lane as well, where you got the Skarner on top of it. Around that level 6 mark, it could become a very hard all-in lane, where you're able to try and pick off the opponents, but without something like a Lulu available with the Cogmore, it's not going to be keeping him as safe in the lane, so it's inherently more punishable, and it has to be down to maybe pulling a Lantern to drag him out of the way of a Skarner.
Well, super duper giant truck team from Exeter will be taking on UAE Monkey Cage. UAE Monkey Cage, second place team from last split. We've loaded through onto Summoner's Rift. Minions are into lane. Let us know in the Twitch chat who you think will win. Will it be Exeter or will it be UAE? Very, very excited to get into this one. I feel the teams are a lot more balanced than our first game of the day, so I think we'll probably see teams challenging each other a little bit more. So a much more kind of exciting game coming up, I hope.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see how the Xerath performs, though, because it's not a pick we see all that often. Having gone for the Cleanse as well to be able to survive, as we talked about the multiple routes, it's going to be interesting to see how he performs and if he can keep up. But it's about the poke, and when he gets to that point in the game where he can start sieging up and being an effective poker, that's where he is going to be the strongest. So it's getting that advantage to the point where you can start sieging, where they need Xerath to be.
Instantly, Watley's already used one of his corrupting potions.
Oh, but look at the Skarner.
So yeah, Skarner hanging about, actually forced to flash over the wall. Gonna have to run away from that.
He's going to be just going a little bit aggressive in the early game. He wants to pressure out the ICawin. He wants to make sure that the ICawin doesn't get all the camps he wants to get. But at the same time, it's having to blow his flash this early. Luckily, he will most likely have it back by that level 6 mark, so we'll still be able to make that flash ultimate play that we talked about, especially when he's got the Summoner spell booked to lower the cooldown of that Summoner spell. But it's a little bit of over-aggression. He does get punished for it.
So 3 minion dematerializers on the side of UAE.
Oh, you gotta love it.
Explain to me why Braum would run one. Why would you have your support running a minion dematerializer?
So, what you do is you have a relic shield. So what you do is you kill the minion with the minion dematerializer. It procs your relic shield, but you use it on the cannon minion while it's on full HP. So you ensure you get pushed in the lane, and you don't steal the minion from your AD carry because of the relic shield procking. You share the gold, so it's just an effective way of making sure you're not pushed in.
There you go. Everyone now understands why you run it on a support. Running it in the mid on Xerath as well, definitely putting emphasis on Xerath is the wave clear for this team.
Yeah.
We established that in picks and bans as well. I mean, Varus, until he gets that Hurricane and a couple of items under his belt, it's going to be hard for him. Already got Skarner hanging around, though, in this bot lane. Hasn't been spotted yet, but he was spotted on a ward on his way into the lane, so they know he's there, but they're playing very aggressive still with that.
It's really interesting. They saw him walk in, as you say, but they still chose to go in on that trade, and maybe counting down the base timer, so they waited until they thought he'd be in base before that started. But I'm already missing the days of the quadruple minion dematerializer bot lane where you had the AD carries with relic shield, and they were also running minion dematerializer to make sure they could have pushed the wave as best as possible. And you still see it coming out from picks like Ezreal that struggle with wave clear in those early phases with all the single target damage. But it's not anywhere near as prevalent as it used to be.
Everything's been pretty slow for the beginning of this game. Nerf having a bit of a hard time into Pink Teemo, who's popped the black shield, looking for the binding, manages to connect it. One more auto attack as he flashes, cleanses away, but Pink Teemo will also go down. It's a 1-for-1 trade in mid lane. Fantastic start for both teams.
And just baiting him under tower enough to be able to ensure the kill. But it ends up being the first blood, still going over to Pink Teemo, still gets that chunk of gold, but Watley going low in the top lane now with the Ignite on him.
He's got that Ignite ticking away. I don't know if it was quite enough damage for him to find it, as now Lolmau just need to be a little bit careful, as we do have ourselves a Candy Cane man running around in the jungle, trading away with him, but he's just going to plod his way out of there.
It's the Candyman himself, just with his weird Waluigi walk around the rift.
I always thought it was like Peter Crouch, made of tree.
I always just saw him as he's Waluigi as a tree.
In this case, Candy.
Yep.
A Candy? I'm not American. Sweeties.
He's Candy Canes, though.
Yeah, okay. He's still made of sweeties. Let's be British about what he is.
You gotta be stunned, but with Pink Teemo having gone that aggressive to pick up the first blood, it has to be him doing something with it now. Otherwise, you're just giving the scaling to the Xerath, and we talked about the scaling of the compositions, where it's the mid game where we know that Xerath becomes the strongest, where he starts to get 1 or 2 items under his belt.
Oh, good ulti comes down. A fantastic black shield will keep him up, as we're seeing so much damage. Pink Teemo, Zonya's out from Nerve. Great dodge. But
really interesting as well, because he's holding on to that Dark Binding for as long as possible to make sure he doesn't end up wasting it and missing it. Locking him down with the slows instead first and using it really effectively.
Poison really start to hurt Envy down to flash out of that damage to him to deal with. And I was just saying, actually, the kill for Pink Teemo was completely negated because Wave was pushing in for it. So we still never actually get an advantage from that. But now that's been completely negated, unfortunately, for him. And gold pretty even in mid, even with that first blood gold. Remember, Nerve managed to answer back. And Lolman's going to have to hold up against Pink Teemo. But remember, there's still a serious amount of damage, and that black shield is proving to be a bit of a problem.
They just caught ICawin in the jungle, having sneakily just stolen that red buff, smote it away, and left. So he's going to be feeling rather happy with himself as Melvin Izzle. Just going to walk away, but just denying a little bit of extra experience from the Skarner, denying him that level 6 for a few seconds longer. It's just going to be enough to make sure he can't make a play before ICawin can. We're going to be expecting him to try and use Daisy to be able to counter gank very effectively.
Pretty
effective trading going down in this bot lane, though, for the side of UAE, as Skarner looks to be found out. But Exeter's super duper bus squad managed to get himself one more kill onto the jungler, but the fight's broken down as the corrupting chains are there. I Came to Party is trying to last little bit of damage there. And Gotti behind the minions, nice and safe. Did get ignited up in that trade, though. The exhaust was also thrown out by a Venus.
It's ends up just being a very aggressive trade in the bot lane, but they get the summoners out of the both Venomous Shrew and High on Anxiety. But again, Melvinus are just sneakily stealing that blue buff away right under the nose of Nerve.
He's summoning out Daisy as the cat's looking to try and get over. Gets himself a Stumble the Winter's Bite. The pop-up is there from Daisy. And Nerve is having a really hard game on this Xerath, just getting constant pressure, constant denial.
You know, I'm loving this Ivern play. Just so ballsy. You walk up and you steal it from right under his nose, ignoring the fact that he's even there, and then you waddle away happily. It's ballsy. It's a bold strategy. We'll see if it pays off.
Well, he's got himself a CS advantage at the moment. I'll just check the gold lead at that point. He's actually about 400 gold up on Lolman at the moment. Lolman's actually gone straight into that Burmese Cinder, so not rushing the Triforce, which is actually more common than you think. We've seen a lot of people rushing Triforce before finishing up their jungle item. This time actually wants to stay tanky, knowing that his team are already losing out.
And he's the only tank for his team, so he has to be tanky. He has to be this front line that he knows is going to get heavily disengaged from. And if he chooses to go for a more aggressive early route, then the moment he tries to go for one of these plays with his ultimate, he gets hit by one of the bindings and bursted instantly.
Mountain Drake is the first Drake, as you see, get pinged out on the map by the teams here.
You know, I'm not sure. Have you looked at the changes on the PB at all to the AP items?
Yes, I'm very, very excited as a mid laner. I'm very, very excited about that, actually.
As a Legacy Singed player, I'm very excited about that, because they've buffed Raleig's and they've buffed Leandri's burn, so you're going to be doing maximum HP damage as Singed running around.
Watley has to be careful, actually, because there is a Scorpion hanging about looking for him. Maybe gives away the charade a little early by running at him. And Watley is very, very fast on the Singed. Naturally, that's how Singed is. Now they're running down looking for... Oh, Protobell comes down and Nerve is just trying to put the damage down, but Skarner gets the stun up, gets bound down, and Watley manages to get himself a kill, while in bot lane a hook comes down onto the cat, followed up by the Corrupting Chains as the stun will connect. Great knock-up from the ulti, but he somehow flashes out, somehow stays alive, and a Venomous Shrew keeps his hat on, but now I Came to Party is getting teleported on, flashed away from the bind. Anxiety comes down as Venomous Shrew is trying to stay alive. He gets healed up, and it's a double kill onto the Cogmore in bot lane.
And it's Pink Teemo making these plays across the map, teleporting bot lane, ensuring that one goes over his team. And that was the point of the map where they had the advantage for the side of Monkey Cage. That was the point of the map where they had the pressure. And now they've given 2 kills over to the Cogmore. This is a brilliant situation here for the side of Exeter. And now they're looking to pick up this Mountain Dragon as well.
And there's nothing this side of UAE can do apart for a couple of ultis out, trying to land something onto High on Anxiety, but Pink Teemo will just punish him for doing so as he dodges everything he needs to. One more binding is going to come in a couple of seconds as he Protobelts forward. Nerve gets auto-attacked to death in the mid lane, and it's a 2-1 Pink Teemo.
It's just 2-1 and 4 on him, though. He's still in such a comfortable situation where he's got this Protobelt completed to be able to make those more aggressive plays. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he goes for in later on. So we could see him pick up the Zhonyas so he can make those flash ultimate plays even more aggressively and make sure he can survive during them. But we could see him also go for something like the Athenes and go for a more defensive route to keep the Cogmore alive, because they've got such an advantage already. Cogmore's going to become online that much quicker. They've got 2k in the lead. They've got a bit more of a buffer to wait for that late game scaling.
The Cogmore comp have had a fantastic start. Got their Cogmore a really, really solid gold lead in his lane. He is down a little bit in CS, but he's going to be able to even that out as this wave crashes into him. I'd like to see, though, Exeter now put their attention on to the Rift Herald. Like we saw in the first game of 50 Kent, they got themselves their advantage and they looked to pressure it for more objectives. Rift Herald will open up some turrets for them as well, which is perfect for what this team wants to do. As Watley's actually just charging up with Karma Envy. Karma Envy not having any of it, though.
He's not really looking to proxy this game, just instead choosing to pressure out Karma Envy in lane. And you gotta remember, this is the matchup that Karma Envy chose. He wanted to pick the scaling lane, and oh no, Lolman again caught out.
Binding gets pinned down, he flashes away, but it's too little, it's too late. Suppression comes down, it's not enough as Pink Teemo's trying to stay alive, but Karma Envy has entered into the fray with the Hemoplate. Chains of Corruption collecting the bot lane as the box gets thrown down. They got the knockup as Cat is going to get dropped down. Now a stun connects onto Watley, but he's taking so much damage. He actually manages to get a kill. Now Karma, he's next. Can he find the damage? Can he stay alive? Watley gets black shielded up and he's charging forward. Not going to be able to find the kill, but first turret of the game should get secured in bot lane. There's high on anxiety on that Cogmore. There's a big minion wave to work with.
And on paper, this game looked like a mismatch, but in-game, we're seeing Lolman really struggle to pilot the Skarner, really struggle to have any impact on it, and it's been Pink Teemo in the mid lane constantly, everywhere making these plays, and Watley showing up in the top lane as well on the Singe, just making it so hard for them to play around that top side of the map, because he's always there, flipping somebody over, flipping Skarner into the fray, where he's going to get caught out consistently by the root after root after root, and with this red buff, he's going to be looking to take top lane tower and make it 2 towers to 0 so early on.
Lolman's just going to have to try and clear those minions out. Can't look for the play, although Brom's hanging about. Maybe going to try and get himself a Winter's Bite. Not going to do so, and we're going to see Watley be able to peel away nice and safe. Hasn't actually finished himself an item up yet, but it looks like he's gone towards that Righteous Glory as his first item. Proto Belt for Karma Envy. Nothing too unexpected since it changes to spell feeds.
It's yeah, just going for this Righteous Glory, it's going to be that tankier route where he's going to be looking to, rather than be in a side lane, chase down key targets, chase down people like Nerve and ICawin, who are both immobile, and he can just flip them over his head and get them towards the fray where we talked about these multiple CC layers that you can get on top of each other that are going to be catching somebody out.
Pink Teemo, he's looking for the damage. He does actually manage to get the stun up, but the binding connects, followed up by the cleanse in the black pool. Pink Teemo takes a lot of damage, but now we see the chain come down. Cogmore is going to get picked up as Lolman finds himself a kill. The passive will not do enough, but a great hook from Venomous Shrew. Maybe too little, maybe too late. Stun comes onto Watley, and they're trying to kite and fight their way through as ICawin manages to walk out, and Watley can't quite answer back this time. Doesn't have the AP damage, and Nerve is there to back them up as well as Karma headed into that mid lane to try and defend against Pink Teemo.
Now Vladimir, he doesn't just rest on his laurels, he's making sure that Pink Teemo doesn't get to push in the mid wave in response. They're trying to deny as much as possible with this play.
Definitely doing so. They are turning onto the turret though. Great stun comes down, followed up by the Winter's Bite, followed up by the ulti. Glacial Fisher's going to pin him in as they find the stun. They find the Zonyas. Here comes the Ivern though. Watley manages to find one. Watley's going to get a double kill. That's a 5-0 Singe. The slow comes down. They're not going to be chasing anymore. But fantastic team fight for the side of Exeter. The super duper giant truck team from Exeter showing up fantastically on game 2.
This is where you start thinking, where's the AP going to come from for Watley? Because he's so far ahead right now, he needs to do something with this advantage.
He's definitely going to probably look for a Crystal Scepter now. I've seen a lot of Righteous Glory Crystal Scepter builds on Singe. Actually, he might just go for Nerve. Stuns up under tower, looking for the damage though. Nerve.
But now they can just afford to back off and take this Rift Herald for themselves and look to break open another tower. The mid lane tower, the only one left standing. And we've seen how effectively they can set up with this siege. When they've got the Thresh, they can fish for Thresh hooks, they can fish for Root Callers, Dark Bindings, and then have the Singe who can just run in and flip somebody over who's near unstoppable. And it just means that it's a firing range whenever they set themselves up in front of a tower effectively.
Protect the Cogmore comp is coming alive at this point. Ocean Drake was respawning in 20 seconds as well, so if they want to go for that, wouldn't be a bad Drake for them, to be fair. They've got that Mountain Drake to help them crack objectives, but an Ocean Drake will be able to help them with their siege, keep them in lane for a little bit longer, keep those mana and health pools up, as Pink Teemo's hanging in a bush with high on anxiety. Nerve. It's maybe a little bit nervous this game, doesn't want to be walking blindly into bushes, but Pink Teemo wants to be looking for the engage. He goes for the flash for the Proto Belt, gets down with the ulti, it actually connects as the binding comes down. Now we're seeing the hook.
Nice hook.
Fantastic one. A 3-man play comes down as ICawin gets dropped down by the anxiety. Venomous Shrew is going to try and look for a hook, but the flash comes down and he's going to get his way out of there as Rift Herald gets cooled down in the mid lane. Looks like the next objective for them to get their hands on as a hook comes out. Not going to connect this time. Stun does go down. Binding does connect onto the Vladimir, and he might have to use that pull to stay alive. Herald's charge is there, and Watley actually needs to make sure he gets his dodge, but those shields are huge.
Doesn't even need them, just fast enough to be able to dodge all of them, and with that Rala is available as well. Oh!
Nerve is just going to get deleted, and they're trying to find the damage to the Hemo Plague. Envy gets himself 1 kill. That's actually going to be Lolman who finds it, but the Kog'Maw is just pumping the damage out. Shrew looks to come down. It actually might be the turnaround. It's a double kill onto Lolman. High on Anxiety and Pink Teemo will stay alive for now, though. They get themselves the mid lane turret.
They overstay their welcome a bit there. With Watley there as well to be this frontline threat, they end up still sieging up, still pushing in. They get Nerve, but they give up 2 members for it, and potentially this mid lane tower directly in response.
Yeah, the Cat's actually tanking it up for now. Just trying to keep those minions alive for as long as possible. That tower will drop. So at least they get that in response. But the gold lead is still massively in the favor of Exeter. They have a really solid tempo advantage. And this is not what we expected to see. We are looking at the 2nd seed here, having a really hard game against Exeter. But I suppose if you do rock a really cool name, you obviously get inspiration points, which power you up as you go into your
It's the Super Duper Giant Truck team.
From Exeter.
From Exeter. So, having such an advantage right now on multiple members, this has to feel pretty good. And knowing how strong that Watley is, and he's only going to get stronger, looking to go for the Abyssal Mask most likely next item. He's going to become nigh unkillable and still be such a threat. But you can't afford to ignore him. He still does a fair amount of damage, and at the same time is slowing all your members to be able to set up these sieges even more effectively.
Gonna get flipped over and flayed back. The damage is here, and now Anxiety is gonna unload onto Lolman. Gets himself a shutdown to boot as well. He's got that Rage Blade finished up. He's building towards that Blade of the Ruined King, and the Cat can do nothing but watch his Scorpion die.
It's going to be another kill going onto the Lolman. Really, again, not having a great day in this. This is meant to be the challenger jungler, but he's really struggling to have much of it more impact, more than just pulling in a couple people with the ultimate. He didn't really have any threat in the early game. In fact, negatively so. He ended up going 0 and 3 at one point.
Good binding goes down. Followed up. Great block comes out, though, to make sure Come to Party stays alive, but it don't...
Oh!
What
another hook!
That is the super duper hype train, ladies and gentlemen. The Cat will be next to fall. They've got the binding. They've got the damage. Karma somehow stays up, but the Venomous Shrew with yet another hook on the Nerve falls him apart. That's going to be the Zhonya's to make sure he stays alive, as Watley also stays up with a sliver of health, and this will be tier 2 in the mid lane, dropping down to the side of the super duper giant truck team from Exeter. And they're having a fantastic game too. 20 minutes in, it is an 8,000 gold lead.
It's a really bloody game, but having gotten this much of a lead, now heading on to Baron. This team is so fun to watch right now with the constant hooks coming out from Venomous Shrew. It's just looking so good in teamfights where they're constantly able to lock down the key members like I Came to Party.
Lolman, he's going to get pinned up, knocked up, dropped down as the rest of the team are entering in. He's speeding out, but a Flame will deny him, and followed up by a Daisy knockup. Yes, another hook delivers Karma in as he proto belts. He's going to hold out for the anxiety, for the stun, gets himself a Zhonya's out, and I Came to Party actually is staying untouched. Now Watley's on top of him as the Arcane Barrage is not quite there. A great hook is going to get flashed out as Karma is looking for the damage, but Watley manages to get a throwback onto I Came to Party, and he's going to turn that into a kill as well. Fantastic team fight once again. Shutdown comes through though from Nerve. They'll get a kill onto Watley at least. 3
for 3, but the Kog'Maw still stays alive, still keeps his gold in his pocket, and it's getting 7, 1, and 4. Has this Blade of the Ruined King on the verge of completion on top of his Gwynsu's Rage Blade. Going to be looking most likely for Aruna's Hurricane next. It's just shredding through the Vladimir, shredding through Lolman07 there, and it's unfortunate there, because Lolman, he found Karma Envy, he found a decent flank there onto the backline. He was able to get directly on top of High on Anxiety, but wasn't able to pop the ultimate, wasn't able to get the full damage combo, and then ended up just pulling without really doing any damage because he didn't have the E channeling while he pulled. He ended up popping his, not popping his ultimate onto anybody, and it just cost him so much in that fight because he could have legitimately threatened Kog'Maw's life. Instead, he was able to consistently pump out the damage and not really find any worries.
Lolman's picked up himself up that Triforce now, so at least he's got himself a little bit to kind of buffer up his damage, but at this point, when it's a 7-1 Conk Ball with a Rage Blade and a Blade of the Ruined King staring you down, and Pink Teemo able to just half health anyone with a Dark Binding, it's going to be pretty scary for them, as Baron is probably what they're turning their attention to next, as there's no Drakes up for a little bit. And they're just getting themselves full vision control around this side of the map. And our second seed are seriously struggling in this game. Really, really good vision control so far.
And now, with the Baron set up, we just need to be able to see them set up this AoE team fight with the Kog'Maw, able to poke somebody, chain them down, and
great hook comes down, followed up by everything. The box will pin him in. Cranial Corruption's there, but Watley's just running interference. We actually see
Full-man Hemoplague.
Fun with the Hemoplague. That's going to be a 1-for-1 trade, but if another hook comes down, Watley is so tanky. And ICawin gets dropped as a double kill onto Watley. Kog'Maw's next. Another hook comes down, make it a triple kill. And that is the full ace for the super duper giant truck team from Exeter.
It seemed so good with Vladimir able to get onto the back lane, this time get the ultimate down onto those key members, but it wasn't enough because during that whole fight, Watley was zoning out 3 members, still able to chunk out ICawin in the meantime, and it nets them the fight, it nets them this Baron that's high on anxiety, cleans up.
An impressive name and an impressive game. Exeter really showing up on their second game of the day here at the NUEL Week 1. 23 minutes on the board, and it is a 12,000 gold lead. Baron Nashor now picked up. It looks like they're just going to get their final buys in. Hurricane's now finished up on high anxiety, so he's got 3 items. Crystal Scepter done on Watley, and he's insanely tanky. ICawin cannot cut through him with just the Rage Blade and the Wit's End. I think that they're going to be looking down the barrel of defeat at this point.
There's not really much more you can do, yeah, with the Baron gone, with this effective a siege composition set up. So, really not playing the meta at all, not playing into the meta picks. We've not seen Ivern, Singed, really Thresh either, or Morgana in the current meta. And yet, they've still managed to piece these together and make a composition with a key win condition, which is playing around the siege, finding key picks with the roots, and then getting to the late game with this Kog'Maw as the viability. And it's worked wonders for them.
We're only 25 minutes in. Normally this isn't late game, but Kog'Maw's 3 items.
Yeah.
He is fully ready to start carrying this game hard.
But it comes to the point, what is late game anymore? Is late game the 70-minute games, or is late game the 30 minutes where you're looking to just set up around Baron team fights consistently?
I like to say late games, you know, when your team, well, late game for you is kind of when your team are at that kind of 3-4 item mark. You're looking to press advantages, looking to fight around Baron and Vision, like you said, and also looking to siege, like we're seeing right now. Watley flashes it in.
Oh, another root.
Damage is there. Nerve is super low, and that's going to be one onto Watley. It's going to be another onto Kog'Maw, so it's the 2-0s. Karma is forced to run away, gets the Q off, but the damage is coming down. Binding connects from Pink Teemo as he protobells forward. Zhonya's for the ulti. That's going to be high, and
oh god,
kill. That's Ivan. Finds himself the root caller. An inhibitor in the bot lane will fall down. The rest of the team are looking to pressure in. You're not even going to need the Ardent Sensor. You don't even need it because the damage is there. High on Anxiety takes number 1 of the turret. They're looking for the glory kills. They're looking for everything they can get as Watley 10-1 on the Singe. 26 minutes on the game. And the super duper giant truck team from Exeter are round 2 winners against the second place team from last season, UAE.
And it's the hook after hook, the root after root, locking down multiple members consistently and chaining them down as a team. And the super duper giant truck team from Exeter, they do pick it up very effectively, and you have to look at Watley on the Singed buying so much pressure, able to get in, flip key members towards his team, and consistently buy a lot of time for Kog'Maw to be able to put down that damage, to go 12-1 and 8, but it's the 25 KDA Singed.
Absolutely insane game. And Pink Teemo as well, 2, 3, and 21.
It wasn't support Morgana after all. But it ends up being the most damage was the Singed, so that kind of tells you.
He only had 1 AP item. Yeah, he had a Blasting Wand in there as well, but it's the Abyssal Mask and Righteous Glory of the Crystal Scepter. So really, really tanky, and he's just super obnoxious for them to deal with. There were 3 Ares on that team as well. It was just a really solid start from the side of Exeter, really showing up in the game. The cat on that Braum couldn't defend his team, and it was a grim opening game for UAE. They need to kind of bounce back and look to game 3 and figure out what went wrong and what they need to fix up.
And speaking of Game 3, we'll be finding out who York is up against shortly, as they'll be the guys we're casting for the third game. But with a couple quick games, you see the 20-minute Game 1, 26 minutes Game 2. Might have to wait a little bit longer, but we'll be back shortly with that one.
Yeah, we'll be back after a break, so don't go anywhere, guys. We'll see you in a sec. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. We beat the timer this time, so that was all good. We are back for the third and final game of the day. It is York the Boys taking on Nottingham. So pretty excited to get into this game and see what we've got going. How are we feeling about York? Where did they place last season? What are we expecting to see? Sin?
Well, we did get to speak to their coach, Connor, for a bit, and he was telling us that this is the roster that finished top 8 last season, but they've managed to pick up an upgraded top laner who played for DigiWar in the UK Prem qualifiers, and they've also got Fredster, who's currently playing in the Tier 2 of Germany, which is underneath the teams like Monkeys and some teams that really contest for those Challenger Series spots consistently. So it's still a decent league, and he's still showing that he can play competitively, and having that competitive experience under his belt can definitely net a lot of advantages in this sort of play.
Right, Camille, Sejuani, Azir, all banned at the moment. There's going to be the Nasus removed. No booping Nasuses to get us going. Ornn coming off as well. So pretty standard bans, actually. Apart from the Nasus, everything's been pretty standard. Boys, obviously, from York, for anyone who's wondering who that is. Nottingham, I'm not going to display their name on the front page of Twitch, so they're going to be just known as Nottingham. You guys can write it in the Twitch chat as much as you like, though.
Yeah, I'm going to take that opportunity and type that myself.
It's not actually awful. I just think it's probably best not to write it on.
But yeah, it's seeing some bans straight away. We can bans towards the top lane here for the Camille, the Nasus, and the Ornn as well. But seeing the Azir band away here, it's rather interesting because when you see Azir band, it's more about the pocket pick of Azir than the fact that Azir is strong itself, because it has to be. It's not really a blind ban, because if somebody's good at Azir, it's very uncommon. But if you see somebody good at Azir, you want to be banning that Azir, because some people can pilot it, and it can be like when you see a Korean on an Ezreal, they can just do things with the champion that other people can't.
We have Tom Kench going to get picked up as the support for the side of Nottingham. Zoe and Varus. I'm so excited to see Zoe. I haven't seen her all day so far, all evening. Tom Kench will deny quite a lot of that. Someone gets Sleepy Bubble troubled up. We can obviously expect to see Tom Kench gobble them up and make sure that they don't take an empowered paddle star to the face. Varus, again, we haven't actually seen any success on the Varus today. All of the games where the ADCs have been playing Varus, they've had a hard game. Tristana's still available for the side of Nottingham to get their hands on. They're going to run the Kha'Zix in the jungle for now. See what they're going to pick up. I expect to see something like a Tristana come through now. Maybe they want to go for something else.
It's interesting, though, because it was actually Fredster who was playing a lot of the Kha'Zix last split, and he was very good on the champion, so picking that one away from him is an interesting pick here. But the Zoe coming through is more dominant mid lane pick, and what she's weak into is assassins. And when you see a Kassadin picked, having the ability post level 6 when Zoe's burst really comes online to just rift walk away, rift walk out of range, is going to be very effective. And those nerfs for Zoe aren't quite through yet, so you can't cleanse the drowsy. You have to wait until you go asleep, then instantly cleanse, and that's why you're going to see him going for the cleanse mid lane to just try and get away from the burst of the Zoe.
Especially early, Kassadin into Zoe will be a little bit hard for Shaggy. Then level 6 comes and it turns around, because obviously Zoe's got a lot of this kind of pseudo mobility, i.e. no mobility. And Kassadin's going to be able to blink on top of them, dodge a lot of those abilities with that Rift Walk. So I expect to actually see quite a lot from the Kassadin really within the kind of terms of like level 6. That's when I expect to see him really shut down Furlong. But earlier on in the laning phase, he's going to have to play behind that minion line, make sure he doesn't take too many paddle stars to the face. He's running that TP as well. So he's going to be able to kind of maybe trade aggressively for CS in lane and then TP in and out of lane as well. I expect to see him pick up the corrupting pot as well.
Definitely trying to survive that laning phase. Yeah, so we see the Nunu band away from Fred, so they're trying to pinch him in the jungle pool, make sure he's going to be playing something a little bit less impactful on the game at least. But we saw that happen last game as well, and we've seen it pretty much all the games here. Junglers being so heavily pressured out. But on the other side, it's going to be the Tristana and the Caitlyn, two of the big late game AD carries taken out as well. So we're going to have to see what Experseed falls back onto, and if he's going to play something along the lines of what we saw last game, like the Cogmore, because they've got the Tom Kench ready to keep them safe. It would be a relevant AD carry pick here.
We do see target bans on both sides, like you said. ADCs all get banned out, and then junglers for the side of Nottingham, they're just going to ban all those away now, but they've got the Kha'Zix. Jax actually going to get locked in for York here.
The tank Jax jungle most likely here. It's something we've been seeing a lot of in Korea, and it's you go for the Cinderhulk plus Triforce into full tank, and you're just a big disruptor onto the backline. You have a small amount of damage. It's enough to be relevant in fights, but you're not going to be looking to burst people. It's about standing on top of people, making them focus you rather than anyone else, and when you have the Counter-Strike available, you just stun them in place. You can be great at setting up picks, but you can also be great at disengaging, because it gives your team that few seconds where they're worrying so much about this Jax.
Well, Nottingham are going to get their hands on the Cogmore. Did see it last game, absolutely pop off, but this time a little less protection for him, not running that full free champions to make sure Cogmore doesn't die in a team fight. They've only got the Tahm Kench, so he's going to have to make sure he utilizes the Gobble nice and well. And Shen going in the top lane. So, okay, cool. Adding a little bit to the Cogmore's protection, but I expect to see Shen kind of ulting more to Kha'Zix as he jumps into a team than on defensively on the Cogmore.
Yeah, so you want them to be making proactive plays rather than defensive plays, as you're saying. You want to see Shen doing something big with the Kha'Zix, able to get on top of a Zoe, for example, or on top of the Varus to be able to shut them down and get picks in that phase of the game to start getting advantages. But at the same time, you're going to probably have to see him go defensively when you've got Zoe looking to try and pick him off with those sleepy trouble bubbles as the game goes on.
Now going to get picked up as well into the Shen top lane, so going to give him a nice and pressured lane. As we do look at the kind of team comps, as everything's been formulated out, we now know what everyone's playing. We can really see the side of York definitely running for picks. They want to be picking people off one by one and going for the kills that way. Tahm Kench will help deny that. That is always an option, but something we talked about at the beginning of the day with the Talia is if you want to shut down something like a Shen, a global champion, attack the global, and Jackson Nah have a fantastic time into him.
It's definitely a large ability to be able to shut him down during the laning phase, and it's again prior to the nerfs to Nah. So this is pre-nerf champions again, where you're going to be able to pick up the Frozen Mallet, have that 30% slow onto Shen, and be able to chase him down the lane. And if you start to get these plays where Varus and Braum, they win the bot lane, they get the bot lane tower, they lane swap effectively, you get to put Nah versus Shen in a long lane, and that's really not where Shen wants to be, being able to be chased down, the hyperprocs used to hunt him down and make sure that Nah can finish him off.
Yeah, definitely going to be the case. Obviously, the Spirit's Refuge will buy him a little bit of time from the auto attacks, because that is pretty much all Jackson Nah can do. It's auto attack away until obviously Nah does hit Mega Nah form. Then obviously he does have the ability to throw him out of that and knock him down. But then again, the Kha'Zix, it's going to be two very aggressive junglers, two very good junglers at counter jungling as well, catching the other out when they look for a gank. So going to be very exciting, actually, to see how these junglers decide to play. Is it going to be an invasive style jungle, or is it going to be a counter jungle, aggressive, constant, looking for ganks, looking for plays to get their lanes ahead? What are you really expecting to see out of these junglers?
Well, I think Jax has a fair amount of safety in the jungle in 1v1. Obviously, we talk about Kha'Zix's 1v1 potential with the isolation Q damage, but having the counter-strike, having the ability to just ward jump over a wall, gives him a lot more safety than most other junglers that Kha'Zix would be looking to invade and try to finish off. So he's going to be able to just try and farm up and scale up to the point, because he wants to get the Cinderhulk, the Trinity Force, and potentially the Titanic Hydra on top of that if we get that far into the game, where he can try and burst somebody out while still being an effective frontliner. He can get on top of the Cogmore and buy a few seconds for Zoe to be able to try and pick off a member. It can be so crucial as the game goes on.
So far, I mean, all of the games we've had have been pretty stomp-fest games. One team just hits their spikes and just keeps running with it. Maybe this time we might see something a little bit different, maybe a little bit slower, more macro-focused. Obviously, like we said, it is obviously week one. We are in the Swiss tournament style, so all the teams are kind of filtering out into their desired places in the tournament to see if they're going to play against someone maybe a little bit more on their level. Obviously, there's I believe there's 190 teams. I could be wrong. You have to correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I think it's around 90. This
90?
It's 190 overall across all esports.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, across.
So that's including Overwatch and CS:GO. There's 190 teams, I believe.
Big
community of people playing here at the NUEL then. 90 league teams. League's always been a very big one here as well. I mean, eating up almost half of the kind of team base here. It's always really exciting to kind of, see all of these university players get together on a Sunday night and play some League of Legends against each other. And it's always really good communities, especially with the Twitch community who watch and also the player base. It's really nice to see a lot of these kind of returning teams as well. And a couple of new faces every year.
It's definitely good because when we see teams like what happened earlier on with Exeter able to take a game off of the team that finished second last season, it's good to see those upsets because it's good to see a competitive league where teams can take teams from games from each other, and it's not just going to be one team stomping and winning every single game.
As I think in the early weeks, like we said before, it will probably be quite stumpy for the first maybe 1-2 weeks, and then
that's the nature of the Swiss. You need to shake out who deserves to be at the top and who deserves to be in that sort of second division as time goes on.
Then obviously as we do move down, the games will get more competitive. Teams will have to rely less on snowballing to win the games and more on actual tactics. I'm super excited to get into this game. Nottingham have drafted a pretty interesting team here, but I'm really excited to see York with the Zoe, with the Jax jungle mainly, and I'd like to see actually some Varus success this week. We haven't seen any so far. It's all been a little downhill with the Varuses.
Yeah, it's the We Watched Korea composition versus Nottingham here. So it's going to be, a lot of it's down to be how well can Thulrog pressure in the mid game as this Zoe. Is he going to be able to land those key sleepy trouble bubbles onto key targets to be able to shut down members and set up those sieges rather effectively, because they've got the Varus as well for a little bit of poke, and they've got the Gnar who's going to be able to split push in a side lane effectively against Shen. They just need to be able to get to this phase in the game, get the advantage in the early game to be able to set up advantageous sieging positions.
It's all going to be about the setup so far. So we finally loaded through onto the Summon's Rift. Here you go, everyone. You can now see it. Nottingham taking on York.
A lot of these fancy transitions, by the way.
Yeah, I know, they're really nice, aren't they?
Yeah, it's
a nice new streaming service we're using, which I'm slowly wrapping my head around. Unfortunately, music wasn't something I was able to wrap my head around, even though I studied it. I didn't study how to put it on a stream, so unfortunately, if you're wondering why it's been quite quiet, you've just been watching a timer. That's my bad. But outside of that, everything else is nice and swish, nice and crisp. And it's our third and final game of the day, Nottingham versus York. Let us know in the Twitch chat who you think will win. Will it be Nottingham or will it be the boys? I'm not going to be screaming Nottingham's name.
I think screaming it makes it even worse, Hitbring.
Exactly. Hence why I'm gonna keep it clean and not yell anything.
Jesus Christ. We're going back into the game here. We're seeing, it's the team with a bit more competitive experience around the top side of the map. It's Gimmers and Fredster going to be looking to be the key focuses of the team. And if Gimmers can start to get advantages in the 1v1, that's where the 4-1 can really come online, where he's able to sit in a side lane and chase people down once he gets the Frozen Mallet completed, Black Cleaver on top of it. But it's not like he's playing against the Ornn again, where we know Ornn, 2 items versus 2 items, we'll be able to beat Gnar, regardless of what Gnar's built.
We've got Tom Kench running around with that Glacial Augment as well, so he's got the slows on the auto attacks.
Just that little bit of extra slow to... Again, it's like we were talking about with Sejuani last game. It's ensuring that you get to the break point where you get 1 extra auto attack. And that can be so crucial when you have a 3-hit passive like him to get that 3rd auto attack and eat somebody. So you don't really get much of a chance to eat enemies all that often. It's more about eating the Cogmore, keeping him safe. But if you can catch out like Fredster and put him in your mouth, you end up taking a huge chunk of his health bar with that percentage health damage.
Battlestar went a little wide there, didn't quite connect. We are seeing also Gimmers running this area, very common on the Gnar. All about that landing phase, all about that poke. Not running Fleet of Footwork, which is sometimes the alternative, is young Simba's getting a good trade onto experience in the bot lane. Starting off nice and strong on the Varus with a Braum to keep him up. Exact same combo we saw last game, except instead of a Tahm Kench, it was a Lulu.
It was a Thresh.
It was a Fresh. Lulu was the first game of the day, thank you.
No problem. But at the same time, we can see that it's going to be Kog'Maw pressured in that much easier because it's not the likes of a Thresh who has that laning pressure. It's just the Kog'Maw coming through, and it's just pretty much Kog'Maw going 1v1 in lane while a catfish walks around aggressively.
A sushi catfish.
It's this Master Chef. But at the same time, we've got to think about, as the game goes on, the Kog'Maw is going to become more and more of a threat. We saw how big a threat the Kog'Maw can be in the late game last game. And if they can buy the time for him with the Shen and the Tahm Kench to keep him alive and safe. Oh, but that's a lot of damage going on to Shaggy there in the mid lane. Yeah, it's Thorog going fairly short range on the Sleepy Trouble Bubbles and the Paddle Stars, so not getting the full amount of damage possible, but it's enough to trade out his opponent here.
Really, really solid showing so far for him. As chunking his opponent out of lane forces him to back. He's going to have to use that TP to get into lane. Furrog's also running it's Furrog. Furrog is actually running the Unsealed Spellbook, so if he needs to leave lane and get himself a teleport, he can always switch out. Hopefully for him, he's going to see a minion drop one.
I love Loki on Zoe running Hex Flash and Smite, just because it's so funny when you max W, so you get the 50% movement speed whenever you activate a summoner spell. You double tap Hex Flash to get 50% movement speed, and you just run at people.
I've never thought of that. That's filthy. Actually, as I play quite a lot of Zoe, I've never thought about doing something like that. That is really dirty.
It's you don't really do the most amount of damage, but it's just the ability to run at people at such a high speed is so fun. But at the same time, it's going to be going for just the Summoner Spellbook to be able to get that TP if he needs to fight. Be able to transition in the later game to a different Summoner Spell, maybe the Ignite to try and burst somebody down. He's already exchanged it to Teleport here to be able to get back to lane. And another keystone that I've wanted to talk about though is you mentioned the summon Airy on Gnar. I really like it on champions like Gnar, where you want to be chasing somebody down the lane, because what you're doing with it is, as Airy's walking back towards you, you're walking to beat her, meaning she comes off a cooldown that much quicker, and you just get that little bit of extra uptime. There's instantly exhaust used because he got it from a minion. Yeah.
No Rift Walk available as well, and I didn't see exactly what that minion dropped for Furrog, unfortunately, but Shaggy having a hard laning phase, is closing in on that level 6 though, so it will be something where this lane will turn a little bit for him. Misses a Sleepy Bubble Trouble here as Experienced and Young Simba are taking a little bit of a trade in favor of the Varus to start it out. So far the junglers, who we expected to be quite active earlier, just kind of quite content with their gentleman's agreement just to farm each other out, as I do say that, and Fredster is hanging around in mid lane. Has been spotted on a ward though, so not actually going to be able to make a play.
It's really just not been a tale of the junglers doing much in the other game. We have time to talk about things like the Zoe build, because not all that much is happening in those, as the Kha'Zix gets spotted out by a ward, instantly gets Sleepy Trouble Bubbled, as though holding pressure quite well around the mid lane right now. And even though the Kha'Zix is trying to gank and the Kassadin's hit level 6, still able to push in the wave, still able to hold an advantage and not give up any pressure whatsoever.
We're also seeing Furrog running the cookie delivery as well, so has a little bit of lane sustain in there. Tries to look in for the Paddle Stars. We're seeing the ulti come through. Drowsy comes out from Furrog and he's going to be A-OK as he Paddle Stars gets that empowered. More glitter onto the back of Shaggy.
Wait, Kha'Zix went Blue Smite.
Ooh. Okay.
This is really aggressive and kind of unfounded, because basically there is only one smite in the game right now. And it's Tracker's Knife. Nobody goes anything else unless you're playing a solo queue, something like a Kindred, where you really need to go for that extra. Gillis.
Here comes the bug though. Can he go splat? Can't actually quite find the opening as Gnar leaps his way out there with the crunch. Gets himself away to safety. And his bot lane, constant pressure, 66 to 43 CS. There's a 300 gold lead at the moment, and that's sitting pretty much on this bot lane.
Yeah, but what we were saying about the jungle items is the fact that with the Tracker's Knife for Fredster and none on the Kha'Zix, it's going to be that much harder for him to find the vision pressure, because he's not going to be able to gank as easily, and the Jax should be able to get control of the jungle, as you see he's trying to do right now.
Trying to do so. Shaggy is attempting to force him out, not actually quite making it work, as he only has a Newel Magic Mantle, so not sitting on too much damage at the moment. Good block comes out from Natty. Make sure his ADC does get to go back and pick up that pickaxe on his first base. And some boots.
Gimmer's turning into Mega Gnar right here, so he's got a lot of damage.
Yeah, really, really badly placed actually. Boulder's coming down. I am too rubbish. Could be in for a bit of trouble as the crunch comes up. Gimmer's looking for the next boulder toss, and first blood gets picked up on the top side.
We're talking about Mini Gnar chasing him down. Who needs Mini Gnar? Just slams him as the big dino, and that's going to be enough to finish him off as Cogmore just sadly has to recall, knowing that he got it cancelled there.
Unfortunate. We are seeing Mindy get himself a steal away on the red buff though, and Burrog, constant pressure, landing 2 paddle stars in a row onto Shaggy. On some half health, doesn't quite connect that one. It's
still the constant pressure, and we can see that from the CS advantage he's got. Slowly building towards the Morellonomicon. It's going to be having that CDR bonus so he can try and get the EQ combo off as much as possible.
We did see a nerf on this patch to Zoe's Q as well. Has a couple of seconds longer before you can use it.
0.25 seconds longer at max rank.
Woo! It's not a lot.
That's the nerf we're all looking for, guys.
Hey,
I'm looking forward to next patch at least, because I'm looking forward to next patch at least when you can cleanse Drowsy.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Ooh, Freeman, Chain of Corruption goes down. They've got the passive on, and that actually looks like the Catfish will get cooked alive. Hockey Man looking to line out the damage, and Fredster finds the kill.
That's going to be the first kill of the game for a jungler, and that's going to be onto the Jax as well. Let's see. Kha'Zix went back to Paces and picked up the full Warrior's Enchantment, but who needs Warrior's Enchantment when you can just walk into lane with a Tracker's Knife and kill somebody because you had the vision pressure? And this is exactly why we were referring to it before. When you can get control of the map in terms of vision, then the ganks become that much easier to find because they don't see you coming, because it becomes that much harder for them to push up in lane without knowing where the enemy jungler is.
And then does that come from maybe a more solo queue style of play and maybe a lack of experience playing in a team setting?
I think it does, because it's showing that he's more attuned to trying to solo carry games, and that's exactly what he's trying to do by picking the Chilling Smite, because you want to be chasing people down, you want to be getting solo kills, and going all in on invading, but you can't even do that as effectively on a Jax.
Oh, Glacial Fisher comes down onto experience, he gets gobbled up and flashed away. Gonna blow that from experience, so at least the flash is down.
They just flash for ult, not much burned other than that, and it's still providing them with some pressure in lane as they're just still got the 40 CS advantage here for the Varus, and it's definitely trying to keep the Cogmore down for as long as possible, making sure he doesn't hit those item spikes anywhere near the timing of the Varus, as they're going to be going for a fairly similar build.
Tongue Lash goes down to young Simba. Glacial Augment hasn't really been utilized to a high point here, as now we're seeing Furrog actually getting engaged on. He tries to throw out the Drowsy, he gets everything thrown down at him, and he is picked up by the bug. But Fredster hanging about now with this stun is going to be able to connect it, is going to try and land it.
Oh, there it is.
Finds one. Shaggy now has to try and turn it around onto him, but Fredster's damage is just colossal at this point. Even with the Cinderhulk, manages to turn a kill at least in his favor. It's 1-3 on the scoreboard for the side of the York boys.
It's a 1-for-1. You're maximizing the W to be able to get that best burst damage possible. And works out for him in the trade, gets the kill back, so Zoe doesn't lose much for it. And she's just going to be using her teleport to get back to lane anyway, so she's rather happy with the situation. But it's no, we've seen it. Like, we've seen the massive CS advantages, and this is where most of the gold lead's coming from. It's only 3 kills. There's not a single tower taken, yet it's 2.5k. That's because of 30 CS on Gnar and the 40 CS in the bot lane. It's becoming more and more apparent as the game goes on that these are just winning lanes that have been drafted from York, and they've been played perfectly. There's now they just need to force something with the gold advantage they managed to net for themselves.
And also what we're seeing from this is Gnar has a big pressure advantage in his lane. His turret's running very low, and it looks like actually bot side will be first turret gold coming through. Exhaust is thrown out. Here comes Zoe and Fredster. Paddlestar goes a little bit wide as they're looking for the stun. Does connect it onto him. Experience is pinned down, and there's going to be a Paddlestar to the back of the head. Fredster goes for 4. That is a double kill onto the Jackson. He is super fed.
4-0-0. He has to go for the Triforce. He has to go for the aggressive route now with the Titanic on top of it, and they're trying to trade for Rift Herald here in the top lane. But it's going to be Gnar looking for something sneaky.
Good answer from Nottingham, though. They are going to get their hands on it unless Good boomerang can come out. Not actually going to connect, unfortunately. So that's at least...
It was a window there. It went down to 5 HP. It was pretty close.
Didn't quite make it work, unfortunately. Black Cleaver is slowly getting built up on Gimmers. He is about 300 gold shy of getting it, and unfortunately his team are swapping out, so he's not going to be able to pick any CS up at the moment, unless he just wants to go for a kill. Onto IM2 Rubbish, going to get those Hyper Procs packed up and started to go. Ooh. Shaggy, actually put to sleep by Furrog. Here comes the Paddle Star and the more glitter. Shaggy loses a lot of health in that trade.
I like that though. He instantly tries to punish the moment that play starts. He sees Zoe go in, knows that she doesn't have any more escape.
Shen's going to get delivered in, and here comes Furrog going in with the Paddle Star, going to connect the damage. They're trying to connect the concussive blows. Fredster gets his 5th kill. It's a Drowsy onto Furrog. He has the jump forward. He has the damage, but that's going to be gobbled up by the Tahm Kench to make sure he stays alive for now. Furrog does actually have a flash. Can he take it? He goes forward. Auto attack. Auto attack. And Furrog finds the kill.
Just gets it with this W proc. Just from barely getting in range of it, follows him through, finishes it off, and that's going to be the kill onto Zoe. And it's the really crucial kill as well, because it allows them to open up the siege that much easier without the Shen here to potentially start a counter engage with a good flash taunt or anything along the line. So he ends up going down. They're going to be backing off, stealing away as much as possible, and now they can start putting vision down into the enemy jungle. They've broken down all 3 of the outer towers, so they can start to set up, looking towards... Unfortunately, it's Baron in a whole 6 minutes away, but they do want to choke the side of Nottingham out of the map and make sure they have zero ability to create plays and try and get back into the game. Because look at this gold lead. It's ballooned from just 2,000 as it was moments ago to 7.5k.
And they're completely fine with Nash being up in 6 seconds, 6 minutes, sorry. 10 seconds until the next Mountain Drake spawns, and Nar managed to do about 1/3 of that health to the tier 2. Rifthold actually will get pulled out in the kind of brief window that York did leave for Nottingham, so they are going to be able to take out this tier 1 in mid. Not going to be able to contest that too much, and I think the team are going to look to try and drop down the Rifthold to make sure it doesn't do too much more damage to their towers, and now they have to turn towards this Mountain Drake. Don't want to give it over to Nottingham. Don't want to give them any opportunities to pull this back.
It's they can definitely try and force a team fight around here with the advantage they've got, with the Gwinsu's Rageblade already completed onto Varus, and the 5 kills on Fredster. Definitely an opportunity to just go for every objective that you can, force these 5v5s, force the enemy to try and respond to you, and then punish them with your gold lead. So just a free Mountain Dragon, it gets them another one in this game, so 2 Mountain Dragons already. The siege is being set up effectively. We talked about the siege where you just get Zoe having the ability to use those sleepy trouble bubbles over walls through minions and be able to land those big paddle stars. We're getting closer and closer to that phase, and with a double mountain available, it's going to be that much easier to pressure sieges, because you can't give them even a few seconds on a tower, it's going to be gone.
We are seeing Shaggy. He's picked up the Abyssal Mask on the Kassadin. Not entirely unexpected. Sometimes they go Roa, sometimes they go Abyssal Mask. It's a hard laning phase, so it makes sense, but he's gone for the Abyssal Mask. Wants a little bit more tanky stats into his name. It needs to be careful, as Natty and Young Simba are there. Tainted Corruption's available, and I say fully stat Rageblade finished up. Well, not fully stat, just a finished Rageblade on Young Simba.
It's definitely going to be a really good to help set up these fights and be able to shred through the carries of the side of Nottingham, where you've got really the Tahm Kench and the Shen on the front line aren't going to be that big, that tanky when you've got the percentage health damage, the flat magic damage on top of all the physical damage you do as Varus. And this is one of the reasons you pick Varus, for his tank shredding ability. And when you start to get towards things like the Wit's End on top of it, where you're stealing magic resistance from the opponent, all the on-hit damage really stacks up, and it becomes that much harder to itemize against.
Also with the fact he'll be able to blade the Marine King as well, gives him a little bit more health percent. Nice and simple for him. The rest of the team are just sieging up with this double Mountain Drake. Fred's just hanging around over the wall. Paddle Star's going to get thrown out. They're just playing off to the side of the map. You need to see the kind of engage come through from the lineup. Oh, that's a big Paddle Star onto the back of the Tahm Kench. One more Paddle Star comes forward, followed up with a stand behind me to make sure he doesn't go down. Gimmers constant pressure in top lane, really asserting dominance. And that comes off the back of him having an almost 60 CS lead. It's a little shy of that. Gimmers needs to be careful as he is actually about to time out. Has got the hype of the attack speed. Rift Walk comes through. Shaggy is going to land a little bit of damage. He has a cleaver. He has the slows. He's actually looking to turn it. I'm too rubbish. Can flash taunt. Going to force the flash away from Gimmers. And now Gimmers is looking to turn back around. The rest of the team are just sieging in on mid. And Gimmers just laying the hurt out. But it's not going to be enough as they lose themselves a turret. Big point at the base. Gimmers actually needs to be careful. They're looking for the damage onto him. Hops away. Shaggy goes forward to the Rift Walk. Gets that hyper down. Taunt goes a little bit wide. And Shaggy finds the shutdown.
The spirits ended up being the taunt field that ends up stopping him from being able to get that final hit off, but now turning it.
Domino is going to get pinned down, dropped out as young Simba is laying into her. The stun's there from the concussive blows. Oh, Winter's bite to the back of the head from Natty is fantastic and gets himself a kill.
The flash Brom Q to finish it off, the bloodthirsty support, and they're not going to let that one slip away from them. End up trading it 1-for-1, but they get the inside track onto this tower, having forced the enemies back on low HP, so they're going to get a chunk from this as well.
Massive chunk as they're turning onto the turret, going to drop that down. Extending the gold lead to 10k at 18 minutes. I was hopeful that we might see a game a little less stompy, but we get a big stomp fest here on our third game of the week 1 here at the NUEL. And everyone's going to base off and look to get their last couple of items in before Baron Nashor spawns in a short while. Spurrog manages to steal away a blue buff.
Yeah, just trying to get the vision pressure into the opposing jungle so they can see anybody coming. They can see anybody wanting to walk towards the Baron now. It's only 35 seconds before it spawns. That's going to give them the opportunity to base, get some resets, and they staggered the resets as you can see here. They've got the Brom and Varus going back first so they can pressure into the river again. Then they get Zoe and Jax to base. So there's always somebody defending around this river. There's always somebody trying to hold the vision line and stop Nottingham from having any way back onto the map.
I'm actually very surprised by the fact that we've only got two stopwatches. It's broken either way. We've got 2 stopwatches in this game. One on Folog and the other one on Experienced. And I don't know if he bought that on Experienced because there was a couple of times where I feel he maybe could have used with having a stopwatch. The rest of the team hanging around looking for the Winter Spike. The Cutter Flows comes down, but going to get choked up by the Chains of Corruption. Teleport is getting channeled and going to get cancelled away. So TP advantage in favour of York as Gimmers is now going to take a 1v1 with Shaggy. This time, Gimmers does have full health and is working towards Gnar. Knowing that TP blown on Shaggy means they can turn onto the Baron Nashor. Remember, they've got 2 Mountain Drakes to do this with. They're looking to try and get a Sleepy Bubble Trouble and a Q down. Going to make it happen, and I don't think the steal is going to be available. And Gnar comes out from Gimmers, though. Is looking for a bit of damage onto Mini Domino. Good wall comes out. Glacial Fissure does connect onto 1. They've actually managed to land onto the back as the Drowsy's there. Stun followed up, chaining the CC onto the Tankens. No one can get gobbled up and survive through this. Couple more auto attacks will lock the Experience down. That's going to be Fred's to the third kill of the team fight coming through. Drowsy's also connected. Burrog with the paddle star, with the flash, manages to find the kill. Only 1 remains, and Fredster is looking to finish it up. It's a double kill. Sorry, Shaggy's still alive, so there's still at least 1 alive for the side of Nottingham. But Shaggy needs to be super careful as Fredster can see him. Fredster has the damage and the stun to lay to boot. And that will be the end of him as Fredster goes forward with the Q, finds himself a kill. And with Baron buff and 2 Mountain Drakes, they can turn onto these towers and drop them really fast.
So I would like to rescind my previous statement that Jax only has a little bit of damage, and he really manages to play this one so effectively. And we can see as the Kha'Zix tries to step forward even remotely towards Baron to be able to contest that, he's already overextended, and Gimmers is able to slam him into the wall, and people try and collapse, people try and save his life, but it ends up just being near ace given over to the side of York.
York definitely got very experienced players on their team, and this is showing up. Like you said, Gimmers and Fredster are 2 of the kind of standout team from last year's NUEL. Definitely showing up this game. 8-0 on the Jax. Got that Triforce finished up, got that Adaptive Helm sorted as well. Next Drake is getting started up as well, and that is going to be a Cloud Drake. So not going to be a 3rd Mountain Drake for now, although the next Drake is also an Ocean Drake. So it's only 22 minutes though, plenty of time for us to see some more Drakes if they want to go for it.
And so it's really just a slow choke out of the game, and really fitting with Nottingham's name, but it's just going to be just strangling all the resources out of them, making sure that they don't get anything across the map, denying them any vision to make plays. It has to all come down to a team fight in the base that they have to go absolutely god tier on to be able to do anything.
Furrog's Q just did 1/3 of IM2 Rubbish's health bar. That was filthy as he just did it again without a sleepy bubble trouble onto Dymano. We got Fredster just constantly pushing in the bot lane as well. Good enough, and the flash comes down. Gibbons is there. He's going to get gobbled up as the Glacial Fish is there, but Shaggy gets locked up, smacked down, and Furrog manages to find a kill. Looking for a sleepy bubble trouble, not actually going to connect. It's a double kill on Zoe. They're looking for a little bit more. Experience falls down. That's going to be another kill, and every member on the side of Nottingham falls down. It's the full ace, and it's 23 minutes. We haven't had a single game go above 27 minutes today here at the NUEL, and it has been a fantastic start to week 1.
It's been 3 very stompy games, but 3 very clean games all the same from the winners. And this one's going to be over to York. As we mentioned, the top 8 team last time, looking to see how high they can get this time around.
One of the top 8 teams really showing off why they made it to that top 3 slot. Really solid showing for them in that first game. And Fredster, man, he is a player I want to be watching throughout this tournament. Same with Furrog, actually had a very good showing on the Zoe. Me and you expressed concerns about the level 6 and what Shaggy could do to him, but Furrog played that lane fantastically.
You're really able to hold the pressure for as long as possible. I did like the idea from Shaggy. It's the moment that Zoe tries to move forward with the portal jump, you go in hard and you punish her. You make sure that she doesn't have the ability to just constantly portal jump in, try and land poke. You actually engage back in onto her and pressure her out. And it worked a couple times over, but as the game went on, she just outscaled him because she had that much more gold. He didn't even get to his second item.
It's a really, really solid showing here on the first week of the NUEL. But before we end everything up, I do want to kind of get your opinion on who you think was actually the MVP of that game.
I think you have to say Fredster.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all by any means there.
Yeah, really played so effectively in terms of being in the right place on the map, but also chasing down multiple members, getting these kills, and playing so well with a lead.
Yeah, really, really asserting that pressure in there. Got himself the Triforce, the Abyssal Helm. Adaptive Helm, sorry, not Abyssal Helm. Got the Adaptive Helm. Really, really solid showing from them. But that's going to tie up all of the NUEL action for week 1 here at League of Legends. But there is more to come on Monday. Obviously, we've got CSGO, and Thursday is Overwatch. So if you want more University esports action here in the UK, tune in onto this very channel we're on right now. You can get your hands on that. But until next week, guys, we'll see you.